Woo! What's up, everybody? Hopefully you enjoyed the instrumentals. Get a little jazzy. Don't worry. The house music and the Baltimore club music, they're coming back as well. Sometimes you have to ease your way in that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Woo! 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 Shout out to Platinum Elite. Finally got the cigars. Woo! Love them Cohibas. Man, oh man, oh man. What an interesting week we had already. Not even the goddamn weekend yet. Not even the goddamn weekend. Chaos, I got you. Woo! What is good, everybody? What is good? What is good? What is good? What is good? Woo! What is good? What is good? What is good? God damn it, what is good? Woo! See, this is what Charles plays at the successful police pit maneuver. Actually, I might be more prone to play Baltimore Club in the middle of that shit. Get you a little pumped up, man. See, what we got is here this week. Have you ever noticed in this sector of YouTube how many times we got people challenging our intellect? I mean, don't you hate it when a motherfucker tries to tell you how to do your job? George Frazier, whoa, Kane, whoa. See, you got to understand some shit, man. Never be afraid to put your claim on stuff. Yes, you should pick your battles, but never be ashamed of your intellectual prowess, which is the one thing I think black men have done for years. Too much of this tap dancing and oh, I think we should arrest all these black domestic terrorist type motherfuckers. I really don't agree with that. Sometimes I might catch myself saying that I'm humble, but I don't like to be humble. I like to be braggadocious a little, just a little. I'm Joshy. I actually tone it down, but I'm not going to be ashamed of my accomplishments. Yes, 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 BG, yes. Woo! Always that motherfucker up, ice skating uphill. See, the master teacher, shout out to the master teacher. He and I are like two sides of the same coin. I'm just not as elegant as he is with it. Or I'm just gonna beat you over the head with the facts and the stats, what it is and what it ain't. Like George Duke would say, no rhyme and no reason in your statement, sir. BGS is gonna slow bleed you. He's gonna take little nicks off of you. And by the time you get finished, you're gonna look like a total fool and you don't even realize you died of massive blood loss. So many people in this sector want to give up smoke, but they can't take the heat. See, if you didn't know this about me already, I'm a fucking competitor. The only way you think you're better than me is that you actually won. And then guess what? I'm going to go back into the gym, go back into the mat. I'm going to go back into the ring. I'm going to go back into the cage, and I'm going to get better, and then I'm going to destroy you. See, you can't go off of your arrogance, your feelings. You have to go through factual, actual, time tested skills and abilities. You cannot allow yourself to be a victim of your own hubris. It works or it doesn't. Straight up, no rhyme, no reason. You come up in spaces like these, you challenge guys like the master teacher BGS. He shows you the charts. He shows you everything. And then he promptly embarrasses you. Then you get the audacity, I mean the fucking audacity, to come up here on my platform talking shit while you were still on BGS's. Oh, I got smoke for you, Officer Faulkner. And you run off, and I run you off so quick, I thought you had the fucking Speed Force. Barry Allen, Wally West ain't got shit on you. And then you bring your little buddy up here talking another narrative, similar subject. And he gets broken down like a goddamn fraction too. All the cigar smoking, all the crude jokes, all the drinking, you forgot that I actually have a fucking brain. And I use it very well. As Charles Singer would say, I didn't teach you to be anybody's peon. And BTS, if you like to come up here, sir, you're more than welcome. More than welcome.
Just, where the hell
See,
is my shit? 1 second, Charles.
all right. See, a lot of people, neither, which most of the people here, if not everybody's actually subscribed to BGS channel. If you're not subscribed to BGS channel, you'll actually learn something. A lot of guys come up here, especially in the black community, because you're
All right,
not.
can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Does that sound distorted? You hearing background noise?
No.
See, this is the new mic. Thanks to shout out to Kuda on the cell phone. You're gonna have to get this, bro. This works perfectly.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get it
Yeah.
definitely. But
All right.
where was I?
I'm
See,
gonna
a
jump
lot of,
out and come back on my other device. I just want to test the mic, see how it sounds. All right.
okay, cool. See, yeah, it's not even got to you force feed them. You got to give them IVs, man. See, this is the shameful part. Because you're in a gynocratic society where you're not taught to respect your elder men or your men who are actually your betters. I'm gonna get the link out in a few minutes. Got to give a little speech first. You, 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 you get this pseudo male who's running around the earth looking for somebody to validate his masculinity. So he goes around people of different races, whether they're Asian, white, Hispanic, Arabic, whoever. They go around trying to validate their masculinity. So they'll adopt their thought process of black people, black men in particular. And instead of actually going out there and actually doing some research, like them term papers your English teacher used to issue, you had to go research and you had to do your bibliography cards. You actually had to give a table of contents and all that good shit. Instead of doing this thing called research, I know, folks, it's a new phenomenon. Can't go off your feelings. I know your mama said, but fuck all that shit. You can't go over that. Instead of actually doing some research, you're going to go off of some feminist, white supremacist, black female feminist bullshit talking points. You know why? Because the people you surround yourself by, if you actually told them the truth, they wouldn't be your friends anymore. Well, fuck all them. Then I hear this news, I forget whose panel, some white guy expressing himself of being superior. Do I have white friends? Yes. Love them very dearly. But I'd be goddamn for anybody. Black, blue, white, turquoise, fuchsia, lavender, you know, jet black, velvet. Like, I'd be goddamn you gonna try to preach your doctrine, your false doctrine of superiority to me. I would actually, I kind of wish the same guy come around these parts so he could get his ass kicked verbally, because he ain't gonna physically get his ass kicked because he's one of those keyboard gangsters. Oh well, we're smarter. Of course, you're gonna be smarter when you're the one writing the test. You're the one building the plane while it's in flight. Everything black people do well on SATs and IQ tests, you take out. And you galvanize, big words, people, galvanize everything white people and other races of people do well, just so you can fold up these phony documents to say we're superior. And the words of Kevin Samuels, show thine work. We have over 2 million years of work. Hell, we carried you on our goddamn backs. And we can't even say the dark ages. We could go back to when the Caucasus Mountains were full of you. We could go to when we had to go teach you how to take a bath, use soap and oil to clean your skin, and to correctly get rid of your trash through process of sanitation. So how can black people have all this goddamn smoke For other black men, when a white guy, you become bitch made. For a black woman, face to face, you become bitch made. Trust me, folks. There's gonna be more. Get your friends, get your cousins, get your parole officers, get your police officers. Get them all to watch this shit. Like, share, and subscribe, people, while you get in, and donate to the Cash App. $5 will do a lot for a brother. Back to the story. See, the one thing you gotta understand is this. I don't see too many black guys going to these other ethnic groups and telling them, no, you're fucking wrong.
Okay.
I don't see that. I don't see that. I don't see them going to the little so-called wannabe pseudo white supremacist groups and saying, go fuck yourself. Every little fucking factoid you have of black men is wrong. No, because you're bitch made. You're a coward. See, the one thing about a warrior, you knew who the warriors were and you knew who the cowards were. It's very similar to the people who are the good guys in a war and who are the bad guys. The good guys are the human shield. Excuse me. The bad guys take human shields. The good guys are the human shields. But you allow dumbass people to come in your space, run roughshod, piss all over your walls, take a shit in your toilet, walk out, don't even wash their hands, and not even flush. Now I'm praying that if somebody else wants some smoke, please. The fire extinguisher just got regauged and reset. Well, I'm gonna debate you. I got all the smoke. Really? You had to go back to BGS where it's a lot nicer. And even then, he had to call you. He had to cuss your ass out.
Before you continue, Charles, since you were on this and we had discussions yesterday, would it be fitting to play the actual stream you did? We could do the guy that was on here until he left to show the difference between a warrior and how warriors deal with some people that's dealing with talking points. Should we do that instead? I think it's better educational purpose.
Oh yeah, we could play about 2-3 minutes of that. Because in my heart of hearts, he ran like a coward. I invited him here. I said, come on. Come on. You pick the time. Oh, you want right now? You pick the gloves. You want to battle intellectually. You had all the advantages. And you ran. You fucking ran. But then somehow you want to be respected among your peers as a grown-ass man with some very, very, very illogical points. It's laughable. No, you're not on my mind. I actually pity you, dude. See, this is the fact of the matter. Everything you said was wrong. How can I be on your mind when I'm making money off of your ass?
Wait, Charles, don't let nobody come up yet. Not just yet. I know this man's here. Has anybody watched Charles' stream yesterday with this brother? I watched it, and I've watched the part with Miss BJS. Can anybody press 1, please? Because if he's here, we don't have to really play it.
We don't have to really play it. because the dude tripped over his goddamn words so many times.
Yeah. Let me go on another so I can see the chat room. I can't barely see the chat room. Let me mute myself. Continue.
See, what happens is this: if you would have brought your buddies over to see and listen to all the shit you spoke, they wouldn't have been your friends anymore. Ah, woo, my boy Leon. See, your boy Crime Redemption in reality is allegedly a correctional officer, Leon, and he actually has the audacity to look down upon the black inmates. See, him and a buddy of his think that we should lock up black domestic terrorists when he doesn't even know the definition of a terrorist to begin with. See, once again, victim of your own hubris. Okay? If y'all want us to play the goddamn part of the joint, give me a woo in the chat, please.
Mm-hmm.
Like, share, subscribe, donate to the Cash App and the screen. Woo!
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot to put my I'll put mine in a second. But let me see if I can. Wait, let me see if the StreamYard is going to kick me off. Because they've done this constantly. So let me check. We might as well play it. Give me 1 second, people.
See, this is no different than Kevin Samuels about 30 minutes ago talking to a chick who's 6 foot 245.
Mm-hmm. Almost like a lineman.
Ray Lewis in his playing days was 6'1", 250. And he had to tell the reality of what was said. Nobody's dating you. You need to lose that weight. So when Officer Faulkner comes up on here and tells you what you said was wrong, and you're going to come up here all coy, I must be on your mind. No, you're not. I'm laughing at you. If that's what you really think, you're an embarrassment to anybody who's law enforcement, corrections, traffic enforcement, and even crossing guards. What was so bad about it is that how you and all these other motherfuckers constantly talk about the smoke you bring and you get your asses lit. But you get some white guy over there on other panels talking about his superiority. Nobody got smoke for him. Well, we're not going to get emotional. No, you fucking embarrass him as soon as he steps up. No different if a black woman showed her ass. I'm going to embarrass you. It's a black man, a white man. I don't give a damn. It's a 5-year-old child. I'm going to embarrass you. Shout out to the Professor Cerulean Gray for the heartfelt and honoring of myself. I am very humbled by it. But yet, you got idiots out here who get these badges and positions of power who look down upon black males. You may be the only male authority figure in that fucking life, but you look down upon them. But then you wonder why you don't control your community. You wonder why you playing second fiddle to black women and black children. You wonder why you walk in your damn home, a woman's running your ass like a treadmill. Because too many of you motherfuckers are the phony tough and the crazy brave. Worst part about it is you could have had the time to talk to some of these brothers and get them the hell out of there. Hey, BGS, if you like to come up, you could come up.
All right, let me see if I could do this and hope that it doesn't kick me out. And if it does, I might have to switch from another application because for some reason StreamYard's kind of discontinued this. I don't know
Oh, if we
why.
can't play, if we can't play it, I'll go all night clowning this fool
I know,
because
I know.
obviously,
Yeah.
because obviously he couldn't. This motherfucker couldn't research a fucking chewing gum package with his mute talking points because of his feelings. What I see, what you see, couldn't amount to an ant's ass. But yet, you come up here looking for what? Trying to build your damn channel? If anybody who listens to you, they
Okay.
deserve you. You've done plenty of
Okay.
research to support your theories. Okay, what is your theory? A stupidity? What is your theory on how to put my foot in my own ass? I've discovered the theory of ratchetivity.
All
I
right,
am
Charles.
the
I think it's
I am
ready.
the great I am the great and powerful Oz. We pull back the curtain and you don't see shit.
Mm-hmm.
Already. What's good, panel? What's good, Sir Charles?
Woo!
How you doing tonight,
What's
How
up,
brother?
you
man?
doing,
Woo!
Dragon?
Be,
I'm
be
saying.
more stand up. Hey, you know what? I've heard that same story that some white guy was on the panel talking about saying that bullshit.
Um,
Yeah.
I mentioned to Charles earlier today. I'm gonna say that for another line with Charles or somebody else. I gotta go back to find those. I know the channel was on. I gotta re-listen to it to see what was said. I don't want to talk on it because I gotta re-listen for the first time. You get me, brother?
No, I'm gonna just go into it this part. I'll be damned somebody come on my shit. That's funny. Oh, BGS is not only the master teacher, he's the master troller. Oh my goodness. What have you researched today, Mr. Crime? What is the retribution? What is your reality? Because when you spoke the last time, your reality was very dim.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you suffer from your own psychosis and narcissism.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I'm having too much fun with this one.
Bro, when I never tell you my take on it, because I was listening to it until you told me you ran out. I couldn't tell because you had the Panther. Well, you can press that for future shows. That that's too many people stay in or they cut out once you go in. That's why when I go back to live streams, I see people on the panel and they go back forth. I want to see how long it would take before they say, "Fuck it, I'm gone." You know what I'm saying?
I think it was a record, man.
Gotta be.
Mm.
I'll tell you
Damn.
what, it shows actual thinking black men. You get me? When you're up
I
here,
mean,
you pose a problem, you pose a theory, but your theory doesn't really back up to reality.
Chick-fil-A drive-through wasn't even that damn fast.
God damn.
Yo, listen, if it got that fast, I wouldn't
God
have it again.
damn. He was faster than a New Orleans prostitute, my nigga.
Shit.
I've done my research, supported my. Oh my god. Dumbass. The reason why murder can increase because of population increase is you got more people to kill.
Duh. I tell you, Charles.
And it's funny because every time he says something, I'm just gonna make you feel stupid again.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like, well, why do I see so many black people in the jails? Because black communities, thanks to COINTELPRO and the war on drugs, which started with Nixon, was galvanized by Reagan, which came to the mass incarceration of the 90s during the Clinton years.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, with Joe Biden.
Yep.
Right.
You're heavily policed. It was a fucking federal mandate to fucking heavily police you.
Yes.
But also, Faulkner, you have more violence in the white trailer park communities. Yes,
And
Mhm.
look, and add to it, they usually get lighter sentences than we get for the same crime or worse crime that we get. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? That's a historical fact. Yeah.
Let's
But
look at modern times. Let's look at Dylan Roof, an actual terrorist, by the way, an actual
Hmm.
white domestic terrorist.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What has terrorism? He has to have an ideology.
Hmm.
He has
Mhm.
to be political, racial, religious, social, economic. That's a terrorist.
Yeah.
Like, how many of you motherfuckers grew up watching G.I. Joe? Cobra was a terrorist organization. It even told you in the goddamn soliloquy in the fucking cartoon
Mhm.
Hmm.
because they wanted political and social economic change to rule the fucking world.
Right. Right.
But yet, this and this other dude want to talk about that. What have you researched? Oh no, trust me. You, Leon, would actually bring back the honor of correctional officers, and you would actually have to clean up this mess because you, my brother, are actually factual, not emotional.
Hmm.
See,
Mhm.
a lot of these guys don't understand this shit, right? How much of the meth and fentanyl fucking factories out there in the little boonies, the fucking sheriffs and the police out there don't even find out that they had a factory out there until the motherfucking vats explode.
Yeah. Hold on. Sorry, guys.
All right, what's up, Kang? See, when you got guys like that who come out here spouting his fucking shit. I think that I should be the king of the black men because I have this government job. Really, nigga? Instead of actually being the spook at the door trying to help more of us get in.
Hmm.
So once again, you want to see guys like this. I've done my research. I've done research to support my assertions that murder rates increase as the population increase. That's like saying I had 5 ice creams, now I have 7. You just got more. But yet,
Hmm.
these are the same Negroes who won't go downtown and say, hey, black boys are doing horrible. I work in a correctional facility. Why not make the juvenile detention centers, instead of having them look at a cell, make them do work, educate them? On average, it takes anywhere from 28,000 a year. Hell, it can even take as low as $14,000 a year, 28,000 on average, sometimes even up to 35,000 if the child is special needs. It takes on average $52,000 to house a prisoner when they're incarcerated. Dude, your whole life's a typo. See, you got to understand this. Murder rates increase because of people. First of all, if there's 47 million black people in this country and you have roughly 175 to 180 million white people, who commits all the murders? Anybody can hear me on that?
You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
No, I was saying you would think by the numbers it'd be Caucasians, but according to the FBI statistics, we commit a few more percent murders than they do.
Which is impossible, by the way.
Yeah, it's impossible.
So the FBI numbers is wrong.
Very.
Okay.
Because they go by per
But
capita.
you know why they're wrong? Because they had to go by something to keep criminalizing black men, saying we're the problem, not them. You know what I'm saying? You are more by majority population, but you're getting more and more, and you have resource. So I always ask most of them niggas, why is one nigga that have all resources still committing fucking crimes? Are you inherently evil?
And then on top of that, you gotta you and then on top of that, Fakwa, notice they never talk about raw numbers.
No, they don't do that.
Okay.
Never always ask for the raw numbers. We couldn't commit it would take us we would have to increase our population by 3 to 4 times to even come close to committing half the murders in America.
Mm-hmm.
Then on top of that, those are murders reported. And here's another thing that, old jackass didn't realize. How many of these murder charges get changed over to manslaughter convictions? See how the game's supposed to be
more than
not
half. Over half. More than half. And
See
you know,
how-
they said, he was a misguided person. He didn't know what he was doing. Kids say, you're right. We'll change it to manslaughter. We won't give it murder. We'll do
So what was Amber Geiger, a police officer for several years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to be this investigator by how the fuck do you break into somebody's house, didn't realize, wait a minute, this ain't my goddamn furniture. There's a bunch of Negroes on the wall when it comes to the pictures. Shoot a man watching Monday Night Football in his underwear and t-shirt in cold blood, and somehow you don't get charged with murder, you get charged with manslaughter. But once again, I want to see why this motherfucker can actually stand up and have the audacity to tell me that black people commit more fucking homicides than whites. Because first and foremost, homicide, which is defined as the taking of a human life. Notice I said the taking of a human life. Murder is the unjustified taking of a human life.
Okay.
Remember, always know your definitions. Exactly. You ain't smell the collard greens, the chicken, and the goddamn bacon?
I sure do, and it smells hella good on Sunday evening.
But yet, this motherfucker who should have been charged with at least second-degree murder, actually first degree, because she made an effort to break the barrier of that house. Because the difference between first and second degree is if you had enough time to stop yourself. So she's probably going to get out of jail quicker than some dude with a nonviolent drug charge.
And you know what's crazy though? What blew my mind, Charles, is when is when the brother asks the judge, could he give her a fucking hug? I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Well,
Like, I ain't never seen so much weak shit in my life, man. I mean, the most he could have did was say, I forgive you. But doing that shit was so
I
fucking weak.
wouldn't say
And
that.
that's why.
No, bro, I wouldn't even say that shit. I wouldn't even say nothing. I would say, bitch, I hope you burn in hell, bitch. You know what
I
I'm saying?
wouldn't even
Yeah.
say where you burn in
It
hell.
goes back
See,
again. A lot of these dudes, think about it, when you check the background, and mostly people that's born and bred in America might be do the same thing, possibly. But these people are not from this country. But it goes back, if you really study psychology of black people, we have a certain forgiveness because we train to forgive people that look like gods and look ourselves as the devil and evil. You
Yeah.
don't forgive the devil, but you forgive God.
Yeah.
That is a superiority complex right there. I don't give a fuck what anybody tell me.
I'm
I don't give
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but
I'm in a
what they
hurry.
did was, but what they did was extra weak. That was extra weak, man. It was like pathetic. To where as though I felt like, you know what, man, I don't even care no more because if you ain't show no resistance against what she did. You just show, can I give her a hug? And she get a judge a hug and blah blah blah. Talking about, I hope you don't go to jail. I really forgive you. And she trying to play that white woman tear victimized shit.
Exactly.
It just pissed me off, yo. It pissed me the
And
fuck off, man.
you know what's so fucked up? Even racist white people said her ass needed to go to jail.
Mhm. You know, to be
So,
honest with be honest with you, bro. This is my thing with the situation. She killed that. I think she was fucking that nigga, and she just felt in a piece, so she went two in his cat. You know?
you know what? And but yet,
And I don't know. I don't know if most of us want to hear that shit because last time no white bitch is gonna say, "I don't know where my apartment." Yeah, you know where your fucking apartment is. So I fucking gas my life. You built in a way,
Exactly.
and you went in there said because the man flicks cocking you, and they said, "I don't want nothing to do." Now you get your feelings because you work an aggressive job. That's why one of the things mentioned away from and no shades to the police department,
see,
women
this,
in uniform because
oh,
they.
you don't want to hear my mouth about that.
But, no, we gotta hear this mouth tonight because anybody. Matter of fact, we ain't gonna talk about it tonight, not tonight, because I was gonna leave that.
On another night, of course. But we're gonna talk about this smoke and this fire.
Yeah.
Where there's smoke, usually there should be fire, but the motherfuckers can't stand the heat.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to take the. And guess what? See, right then and there, I gave you the stats. I gave you the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
This motherfucker only gave me feelings. No different than when Kevin goes on live and he gets them chicks who were 240 pounds
Yeah.
and don't realize that if you're 6 foot and 240 pounds, you're the average size linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bitch, well, I can't see why men are running away from me. Because if we run towards you, you're going to fumble me.
Charles, a lot of them chicks on Kevin Channel, when he asked him that question, a lot of them chicks say, I'm 125, 130. A lot of them chicks always say that 125, 130.
125.
When you hear their voice, though, you can hear the weight on their voice. Their voice got weight.
Like one of them chicks.
Hey, you remember next Friday?
Yep.
Hey, you remember that movie Next Friday when Mike Epps said this? Little Kenny is a bad motherfucker.
Like that's how. And I'm gonna make a correlation to where there's smoke, there's fired, which is today's subject. You have one chick who, in her picture, was a big bitch. The screen part of her picture was so goddamn big. To see all of her, you had to get a 70-inch high def television to see her toes.
Yep. Next.
Yeah.
And she talks about she dates high value men.
Better get the fuck out.
No, you date, and I'm gonna tell you what. No, you don't. You date excellent liars. Them motherfuckers ought to get Academy Awards. They lie about that shit.
And another thing, you ain't gonna get a whole heap of bad bitches calling in at Kevin's channel talking about, yo, I'm 125. That if a female is calling there talk about she have men problems and she's 125 and she's a bad chick like that, she really doesn't have men problems. She has an issue with herself.
Exactly. But it's
Yeah.
like this fool in the chat room, right?
Mhm.
Even the Bible tells you, even the Quran and the Torah says, lean not to your own understanding. This chick had the audacity to say, I date these type of guys. When Kevin said, how tall are you? I'm 5'4". How much do you weigh? None of your business. I said, I'm fat. If you're that ashamed to give an exact number, in my professional opinion, because I coach people in sports, we have to be a certain weight class.
Mhm.
She weighed
Yeah.
too goddamn much.
Yeah.
My female friend who's married said, "Well, you don't think a woman that's 6 foot and 240?" I said, "Shorty, Ray Lewis was 6'1" and 245, 250. Do I look like I'm chasing down Ray Lewis?
Nope.
But yet, because you're still stuck in your own psychosis, you convince yourself that it's not me, it's them."
Mhm.
I'm 6'2", 210. If I know if a woman is telling me that she's 6', 240, she got a problem.
Like, she's bigger than you.
Exactly.
Like, yo, you about to do drills with that chick. That bitch is a tight end.
Mhm.
Like, yo, I bet you she could run a 4.7 flat. Like, but yet, once again, they think because they see from their narrow worldview, instead of looking at it from a global perspective, I would respect them if they actually saw it from a national perspective.
Charles, what was Mike Tyson's height and weight when he was in his prime?
At his prime, he was about 225 and 5'10".
That's what
She's
I'm saying.
even bigger than
You got a
Iron
woman-
Mike.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
She's only 3 inches shorter than George Foreman in his prime, and weighs roughly the same goddamn weight. George Foreman was about 245, 250 in his prime, and he was 6'3". I bet you she got them hands that can knock out a rhino in one blow.
Oh man.
But I bet you she could bend steel and drag fucking cars off the road when needed. Bet you she got that superhuman strength, man.
Oh man.
I bet you she got a ring size that looked like a woman's waist. And she had the audacity to say, I don't want to lose all this weight to be skinny. Aren't you single? Yes, but that's not the reason. Oh, Kevin is so much nicer than me. It's just like this fool in the chat. Well,
Mhm.
the more black population increase, the more murders increase. Good try. You failed once again.
Mhm.
But yet, how many times have we seen motherfuckers get off of murders? George Zimmerman could be labeled a terrorist. Did he use an ideology against Trayvon Martin?
Yes, he did.
Sure did.
Which was what? His race.
Mm-hmm. So
Somebody like, share, subscribe, and donate to the goddamn chat, to the Cash App, because we about to go in real deep in this motherfucker. How deep balls?
For your interest, you see
he
it in
saw
the
a
chat
black
room.
dude. He saw a black dude walking in a black neighborhood.
Exactly.
What's going on, you guys? How y'all doing tonight?
What's up, Nameless?
Man,
Peace, man.
family, folks done got too comfortable in here.
You notice?
They done got way too comfortable. And a lot of folks are talking like they ain't get their ass whooped yet. And I mean that as intellectually as I possibly can be. Wink, wink, hint, hint. So I I do see where it's coming from. A lot of new people are coming into the sphere. You've got this so-called conservative black movement that it's literally copy and pasting white supremacist talking points, like we said earlier, and riding with that shit. Like, one, it's original idea, and two, because certain sectors in the liberal side that have converted over to the right side have been doing it lately, it's been trending. And I find it interesting because Turd Flinging Monkey did an excellent presentation talking about some of this. He was bringing up the fact that the right and the left as a political positioning and posturing makes sense, right? And you understand L is the whole liberal dynamic, and you've got conservative on the right. But what he was describing is there was actually a 3-phase political positioning, or in other words, 3 factions. We can use this with Masonic terms. Thesis, which would be what you call the leftists, right? Antithesis or antithesis would be the traditional right-wing conservative. Then you've got the synthesis, which is the actual individualist. And the thing is, the individualist finds themselves on the right. So there are a lot of individuals that don't agree with things that are on the left, but they also don't fit in the collective right because they are trying to push forward this idea of trying to merit shit to death. And you know that doesn't fit for anybody that's classified as black in the United States, because unfortunately, black is not an adjective that's describing a noun. It's a freaking social class. And as a result, there are implications that are tied to that. You can't just group us up in this giant nuance called America and think we're going to get the same input in, output out. Everything we've been talking about so far fits that entire dynamic. So we're forced to be individuals. And what you get is a lot of people who are working very hard to get put into that conservative collective. You know, and we're talking about your Tea Party folks, your alt-right folks who have been leading the narrative with a lot of that stuff. And people fail to realize that, you know, there's not only the Southern strategy that's been employed that's nuked that even further white folks. People aren't even taking the time to do enough research to understand the facts that they're trying to put out there. Well, not facts, it's freaking indoctrination and disingenuous nonsense, because people are choosing this very narrow-minded scope to present that information under. So just like you were mentioning earlier with the whole black on black situation, the crime situation, how many people get arrested and then convicted for the thing that they were arrested for relative to their race? You already know 9 times out of 10, if you arrest 100 black folks, 95% of what they get arrested for, they're going to stay in there for. You put white folks in that same scenario. Yeah, you put white folks in that same scenario, 100 white folks get arrested, almost half of them getting out, or at least they're not getting out on the same or charged for the same thing they got arrested for. So if they did something where they controlled for what people were being charged with versus what they actually get sent to jail for, it wouldn't match up remotely. But at the end of the day, when the FBI does the statistics, they look at how the case ended, not how all these things initiated. And it skews the data disproportionately. You've got more, and I think Tone, shout out to Tone Talks. He broke this down a long time ago. There are more black men arrested in the United States in prison than all of the females on the planet combined. Combined. And that's just to put the scope in it, just a little bit of that perspective. When you look at how many of us are locked up comparative to our population, it don't even add up. Where are all these people coming from? It makes no sense that somehow magically black folks are just disproportionately put in these systems for no damn reason. Again, shout out to Michelle Alexander for breaking a lot of this down under the new Jim Crow.
You know, it's funny. Even with all the institutionalized racism against us, we still managed to have more black men in college than in jail.
Facts. Yeah. And that was a huge argument earlier.
We still managed to still create 85% of the inventions we still use today. So when I look at this guy, matter of fact, I'm gonna go back to your shit. I've been a black conservative since like 2003. There are no more true black conservatives since of 1980. Actually, 1960,
And-
almost 70. Thanks to Lyndon B. Johnson.
Uh,
Okay. So when you try to say you're conservative, let me ask you this one. So you believe in an old time religion? You believe in Jim Crow? Because when you look at conservatism, true conservative is China.
Mm-hmm.
See, what you're doing is what's like a neo-conservatism, which is really liberalism, but with a lid on it. And don't look down on people. I don't look down on people who I supervise. We call them students, not inmates, by the way. How many of you mentored? Because when you came on here, you never mentioned none of this shit, and we literally had between me and BGS 5 hours with your ass.
Nope. And the funny thing about this,
one damn thing about it, and that's the beautiful thing about these videos. All this shit is recorded.
Charles, another thing. Since this man said he's been conservative, so you've been conservative since you've been roughly 18 years old. You're a 35-year-old black man. And I always want to say, what has it got conservative? And I always ask most black men, what are you conserving of what? You know? I don't like these labels. Let me really start putting some thinking what they call themselves. To be honest with you.
Now, matter of fact, pause it for a minute. Pause it for a minute. Look what he just said. You didn't ask.
Oh, Lord.
That's bullshit.
What's the word, Uncle Chuck?
What's up, nephew?
Shit,
So,
man.
See, this is the bullshit that I talk about when you take the paddle and you whack somebody against the ass,
Mm-hmm.
and you go, "Oh, I mentor people." No, you don't. Your speech and your actions show differently.
Oh, Lord. This guy again. Ain't this the guy that kept asking people, can you find me the white equivalent to the south side of Chicago? And I'm like, or I used to live in Portland,
Yes,
Oregon,
I can. Yes, I can.
Montana.
Yes, I can. You don't say shit about the triads who kill each other in a fucking rape and fucking Cali, do you?
Jesus Christ. How come he won't
You
hop
don't
on
say
the street?
shit about the hillbillies in the Midwest who off themselves.
I used to live in Portland, Oregon. They used to be out there on some crazy shit. The way them white folks were serial killers and whatnot. Come on, man. Quit playing with me.
Shout out to the pristine Professor Cerulean. Woo, Greg. Hoorah.
Mhm.
And trust me, you're lucky to really be there.
Hold up. This is
Oh,
the dude. Y'all talking about this dude that was from that other stream that was popping that shit the other day.
Yeah.
Who y'all talking
The one who said he had smoke for me, but ran out here like Wally West.
Some little bomber clad Babylon thinking boy there. Me can't deal with none of this fuckery in my chop bowl.
Nobody asked me if I mentioned the kids.
Oh shit!
Last clad thing me deal with now.
Wagwan. Wagwan.
This guy.
Bomber
Let me
clad thing.
point something out to you
Bosco
guys.
boy there.
Yeah,
Let
where's
me
his buddy?
tell you something, guy. And this is what Charles Faulkner says. We're gonna drop the officer for 5 minutes, okay? We're about to be on some nigga shit today. If you really was about your people and your kids, that would have been the first goddamn thing coming out your fucking mouth.
Real shit. That's some true shit.
That would have been the first fucking thing coming out your goddamn mouth.
Shit.
But since what you're gonna do is this, you want to talk all this fucking Monday morning quarterbacking shit when you got embarrassed, but you fucking look down upon black people. Well, how did I tell? Show me the white equivalent of the south side of Chicago.
Oh god.
It's called fucking France. It's called the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? You don't have too many black people in Iowa. Guess who all the homicides are happening by?
Mm-hmm.
Iowa only has 2% black people. You telling me 2% committing all the murders in Iowa? Dismiss me with that shit, nigga.
Shit, Portland, Oregon is a serial killer fest and shit, man.
You know what the problem is?
You got all kinds of bike. Let's not even go back to the biker games.
Right. Yeah, I used to come across those cats when I was 19 living up there, man. Come on, bro. That's that black. That's a black conservative player.
See, this is the fact of the matter. You're talking to a guy who's in the field.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these sheriff departments do not even talk about the fucking gang wars they have off of the biker gangs, the one percenters,
Yeah, the biker gangs are
the
motherfuckers.
3%ers and shit. What is it? One percenters.
Yeah.
They don't tell you about how many homicides you have in some of these fucking jails and maximum security prisons.
Mm-hmm.
They actually put a lid on shit.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the south side of Chicago. Niggas always going to the south side of Chicago.
Are you
Come on,
fucking
man.
kidding
But
me,
guess
dude?
what? Even in Baltimore, where I live and where I'm from,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get your homicides. But guess what? How many of you motherfuckers come to the colleges here?
So you gonna tell me that a white trailer park is just as dangerous as the ghetto? Just, nigga, stop. Really? Why is
You know
Hold
what?
on. I gotta do my O'Shea thing. Everybody just look at this nigga.
Oh god.
Did somebody read that shit out loud?
So you're gonna tell me that a white trailer park is just as dangerous as the ghetto? That's not reality. Shut your
Yes. Have you ever heard? Have you ever seen the movie Gangs of New York? How many black people were there?
remember Trevor?
How many black people were smuggling booze during the 20s?
Remember Trevor from Grand Theft Auto 5? I mean, where did they make that shit up from? Come on, man. Breaking Bad.
You know what? I believe it is just as dangerous. They just don't promote it. They just don't promote it. That's all. That's basically what it is. And there's a reason why they do that.
I'm almost tempted for you to come up here again.
Bring
Almost.
him back up, man. He needs it. Stop trolling the chat. Bring your ass up on the stream, man.
Mhm.
That's that bitch nigga shit, man. I'm not trying to see all that. You talking all tough.
Number one,
Uh-oh.
let's look at this once again.
Uh-oh.
Majority of your white fucking places are just as dangerous. Statistically, when they like to see about 95% of black people are killed by black people, 94% of white people are killed by white people. Guess what? You have a lot more white people killing each other than blacks.
That's true. There's more of them number-wise.
So guess what? We're just about as equal. We're not even going to talk about what y'all doing in fucking Europe right now.
Right.
We're not going to talk about how a lot of you motherfuckers are stabbing each other up and nobody's finding your bodies. We're not going to talk about how white places like that actually commit the most rapes and fucking sexual offenses and child abuses and money laundering.
The Banditos, the Basante
and first degree assaults. Shall I go on?
Yep. Actually, I got a pop quiz for this nigga, man. Hey, what is the number one spot in the United States that has the most in welfare benefits? The number one city or county? Crime, retribution, and reality. I want to answer from you. Just guess a city. Because I know the answer. I don't need Google.
Hey, BGS, do you have about 5-10 good minutes to come up? Because wasn't this the same motherfucker who said he doesn't need to compare anything to black people, but he's using the comparisons now?
Right. I want to see what he's going to say about this welfare check question.
Shout out to the Professor Cerulean Gray.
No, greetings, esteemed brethren.
What's going on?
Woo, and hoorah.
First time on here.
And thank you for the honoring and shout out. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm greatly humbled.
Yo, crying.
I've been paying. Actually, what I've been doing for the last couple of months, even though I was on hiatus, because I've also been looking around the United States because I'm looking into moving and liquidating some assets, selling some property, and then. So I was looking at different cities, counties around the United States, and I noticed Baltimore had this damn near all black graduating class. Like, holy shit!
Yeah. See, you got to realize something. This guy here is so content and so content about, well, the other side of the grass is always going to be whiter. When he doesn't realize that the majority of the benefits that go through welfare, lick, and all this other shit is for white people. Please give this, please give this guy the answer before his brain explodes.
Owsley County, Kentucky, which is a white county.
But yet, how much drug dealing, drug trafficking, drug making was done in those counties?
Quite a bit.
How many moonshine distilleries can you find in the back of them fucking trailer parks?
So I'm trying to figure out the argument, because it sounds like something that one of those black liberals that go around disguised as conservatives would say. So half the crimes committed by black people. Of course, half the crime is going to be committed by black people, or crime is going to be committed by black people in a higher rate if there's more police in, say, an inner city where black people are condensed than there is in, say, a rural South, where your top cop is a sheriff, like in most rural towns and counties in Alabama or rural Georgia, or rural West Virginia, where they found that the majority of methamphetamine and drugs that were coming out of actually West Virginia, out of rural West Virginia, some of those trailer parks and whatnot. So,
bottom line is, this dude was literally sitting here trying to say that white people doing the same things is somehow better, or rather less dangerous than black folks doing it. With the information that the trailer park is safer than the hood.
It's really just an act of old world idiocy where, if you have, let me just put it like this: if you're looking at a certain demographic more than you're looking at other demographics, then you're going to find more wrong with the demographic you're looking at than the demographic you're not.
I mean, if you look at history, he keeps talking about the South Side of Chicago. Back in the 20s, Chicago was a crime den, and black people weren't even there. You had the Irish and
I've heard that talking point too, where there's the conservatives like to bring up Chicago as a talking point. It's really not a talking point. If you look at the national average of crime in general, has literally gone down. And if you look at it compared to the 70s, it's gone down by about 60%. You look at it since just the 80s, you're looking at a crime rate that has been reduced in half. That's just with the advent of technology, more blacks having access to education, et cetera, et cetera. As a matter of fact, you talk about abortion rates. All of these things have literally gone down.
Even teenage pregnancy.
Like right now. I did a video about abortion and all of that, where what you're actually finding is that less and less women are having children. Did you know that 70% of women between the ages of 15 and 25 actually do not have children? That's like 70%.
The birth rate has been going down for the last 30 years. This guy.
Like, that's why you have American birth rate almost virtually in a free fall decline.
Yeah.
They said the same dumb stuff about DC too. So, I get it. Everybody wants to highlight Southeast, but
I bring it up because I'm from there and my family has gone through the effects. Okay, where was all this Chicago smoke back in the 20s when the Italians used to rule Chicago and it was a fucking crime den? That's what I want to know.
Oh yeah. See, nobody likes to pull that up. They actually glorify them motherfuckers, right?
Right, because he's talking all the Chicago shit. I'm from Michigan, so it's like the Midwest area. That's my specialty, dog. Like,
I would ask him if he's actually ever been to Chicago.
He says he's
probably on a connecting flight.
Because why do I find it interesting that whenever I hear these derelict Negro males talk about Chicago, they're talking about like the 80s and 90s Chicago when it was like drug infested, police corruption at an all-time high.
This nigga, he's killing me because I'm from Flint, man. Like it's like Chicago, y'all really not that much in the crying compared to where I'm from. The fuck?
It's because this is literally all that you hear rehashed and regurgitated. A lot of these conservative talking circles that make their way first on the forum. We saw this go down on the Stormfront forums, bleed into 4chan. From 4chan, it goes all the way out there.
How stupid do you want me to prove conservatives to be, especially black conservatives?
Matter of fact,
if you really want to be a true black conservative, a true black conservative is pro-black. That's what your true black conservative would actually look like. You want to see the betterment of your community. You want to see some kind of a monopoly that is wholly controlled by your community. You want to see some kind of industrialization of your community. You want to see those government contracts being mass produced in your community by your community. Here's the problem with the Negro conservative is he's bought wholly into this idea that you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Yeah, black Americans in this country are the only ones that have ever even done that. Right. There is no multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporation that is in existence right now that has not literally built itself off of government contracting. As a matter of fact, I would actually challenge anyone. To find me a corporation that is wholly built by an individual that did not receive government contracting to bolster not only its capital, but helped it go public.
Can I ask you a question, Cerulean?
Yeah.
You didn't see my live stream yesterday because you were live the same time I was live, correct?
I did not.
Okay, Cerulean. So this is a perfect example. By definition, what's a terrorist?
Oh shit.
Well, do you want the legal definition or?
We'll take both.
Well, legal definition is someone who, through the threat of force, uses it to basically terrorize people, to put people in a state of fear.
Yeah. Through what type of means?
Through violent means.
And also, you have to be a terrorist. You have to have an ideological reasoning, such as race, religion, political advancement.
Well, if you really look at it in a more secular way, that is not like specific to the United States. I mean, politics is a form of terrorism.
Yep. So this guy said that when a black guy kills another black guy, we got to get rid of these black domestic terrorists.
Well, he's the same. This is the same guy. I thought that was Soldier.
No problem. Well, he was a great soldier.
Oh, he's a jail. So they're both jackasses. All right.
So what do you think soldiers are? We like soldiers. We are state-sanctioned terrorists. It requires.
Hold on, play. I used to be a soldier. Now I don't think people are terrorists.
See, and
terrorist is a matter of perspective, really. Like, for instance, if you're an American and you were in Yemen during the pacification of Yemen, you could be considered a terrorist by Yemenites.
Yeah, because you're a foreign state, so your ideological bent is basically the supremacy of the American empire. So you're coming in as a foreign actor. That makes sense. Ray, no.
All I want to know at the end of the day is where are these legions of black folks that are going into churches, shooting everybody, and getting Burger King afterwards?
Right.
I want to know that.
That's a domestic terrorist right there. You're taking over.
What happens is that the derelict Negro male has been confused by this idea that we should focus on ourselves. No nation stands that focuses on itself. That's why you can look at America as an empire. We actually spend the majority of our time, power, and money focusing on other countries that could be potential threats. Could be potential competition, as you've seen with the Huawei ban. Than we do actually on ourselves. Take, for instance, foreign policy. I talk about foreign policy quite a bit, where you have the Foreign Aid Act of 1964. You actually have more money going to foreign aid than you do for domestic programs.
That's correct.
Like literally, you have more than half of the foreign aid literally going to just about 5 countries.
Yeah, Israel being one.
Israel being a big one. Currently, Afghanistan just beat out Israel.
Oh wow.
Well, because you have the opium trade and
You have the opiates. You have all that poppy seeds and shit. Why do you think we went there first time? Because guess what? Guess who's the number one country hooked on opiates?
Us.
China.
Oh, China. That's right. China is. That's right. Yeah, I'm incorrect on that one. China.
So
and as a
once
matter
again,
of fact, like America literally just spent the most it has ever spent on any military contract on basically a failed fighter plane called the F-35.
Yes.
They messed that up.
Yeah,
They
they
botched
fucked that
that.
up.
Like, why would we do that? Well, it's not to focus on American issues. It's literally to focus on foreign issues.
Yeah, because they got that whole satellite situation going on now, and the whole gray line going on with airspace, and how they can kind of exploit that. And folks are kind of racing for potential resources out in the asteroid belt and the moon and all of that. You know,
Yeah, I like it. And my position has always been the same, Charles. You know this is that our position as Black people right now. We don't have really too much time to be focused on a lot of other low priority discussions. We need to try to focus on how do we swell our middle class as Black people.
exactly. Like right now, normally I would waste my time. I don't even call it a waste my time. How many times have I talked about how Black men should better themselves?
Shit.
Yeah, a lot of people on that, bro. You spend, and then a lot of Black men by default don't even like hear this conversation.
I don't even refer to. I have to use code wording to refer to the Black man as the Black Superman, which you really are.
Yeah.
Because Cerulean, when you listen to him talk about what the German scientists call Black people. But what was the name given Cerulean?
Oh, Nubilis sapiens superior. That is the old, 1920s, 30s scientific name. The Germans that were experimenting on Blacks. Like this was before the Jewish population was called. They were experimenting with Blacks on how to eliminate their Negro population, and where they got the science for how to develop cures and these vaccinations, quick healing agents and shit. All of that was developed by Germans based on the science that they were experimenting with Black people. And one of the names that was one of the titles that was regularly in these old German scientific these old scientific journals in Germany was a title called Nubilis sapiens superior. And you see no other you really see no other reference to it, not in any American journals or even in the British journals, other than pre-World War II. Pre-World War II, roughly between the 20s and the 30s. And it coincides with the time when they were experimenting on Black people.
One random question: Where's Coon Retribution Reality at? Did we scare him off?
Oh, no, he's still there. He's probably just quiet because you got to realize this. See, when your enemy has to call you superior, it's for a reason.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Think about it.
Well, what happened was in the 30s, Germany. If you go all the way back, you got to remember a lot of these wars, especially when it's revolved around Caucasian, white-dominated societies, revolves around just as what our esteemed elder, Dr. Francis Cress Wellesley said, is the fear of genetic annihilation. And what they found was that if they allowed Blacks to continue to populate, you're going to get a swollen population where Germans will become the minority.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole reason why they were doing what they were doing in post World War I. You know, they were salty that all those folks they done hired down there from Africa, a lot of them came back to Germany. And they was over there smashing their women. They used that as a precursor excuse to start launching a lot of those experiments and things that they were doing to the Jews on the Black population there first.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you go all the way back when the Germans. Before, when they were still known as the Dutch, when they invaded South Africa under the De Beers flag, they created an entire group of people that you now know as Afrikaans.
Yep. This is
Right.
old. Who your boy Zulu had to deal with back in the day. But
See, this is the shit. This is the shit that people like him don't realize. That the entire world owes you black men a debt of thanks. You saved this world more times than the motherfuckers trying to destroy it. Well, black
Yeah, I
people
mean, you
are so
look at
violent.
the word apartheid. Apartheid is a German word.
Right.
that I didn't know.
Black people are so destructive and violent. See, niggas like him probably think Draketomania was a real thing.
That's exactly why I haven't fun streaming. I don't play name calling games with people who live hundreds of miles away from me. Forget that. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I hurt your feelings that you call black men domestic or agree with black men being called domestic terrorists? I'm so sorry. I won't call you any names. Crime retribution or reality. You can join the stream. I'll be a big boy.
Hold up. What kind of bitch assery is that? No. Hold on. He just said what?
What is that?
Hold on.
Look, if you're gonna use this vector to say what you were saying, crime, you can use this vector to support your point. Period. Support your point. If you want to support your point, put some information behind it. And don't do it out of recycled freaking talking bites that we can find online on a freaking Fox News replay stream.
Matter of fact, we'll welcome you up here.
Hold on. Was that
Hey,
Cam?
if I already said the screen, please put the link up, because right now you need to actually defend your points about black people being so violent. Because first of all, once again, did I not warn people how dangerous your wording is?
Yeah.
To get these people in a fucking office who's going to believe this shit. This is the same shit Hillary Clinton was spouting out.
To, the talking points that exist from like the old Lily White strategy. Matter of fact, Donald J. Lizio, he wrote a book, Hoover Blacks and Lily Whites, talking about the strategy to demonize black people to ensure that they stayed out of critical industries back in the 20s and the 30s.
Oh, see, you're back in it. Yeah.
So by the time we get to the Great Depression and the recovery plan by FDR, the New Deal, blacks didn't benefit from it. As a matter of fact, and it was with the support of the whole of the United States of America, most of the populace, even some Negroes.
Yeah.
That because black folk were genetically predispositioned to crime, blacks were genetically predispositioned to rape, blacks were genetically predispositioned to failure because standardized testing, which was relatively new, blacks weren't really accustomed to because it was more about cultural. It was a cultural based exam than it was an actual test of intellect, right?
Right. That's true. That's true.
As a matter of fact, there was a guy, his name's Jean Piaget, is a social scientist back in the 30s and 40s. Actually, basically disproved the entire IQ theory.
Yeah.
That intelligence itself couldn't be quantified with a number. That it was more of a thing where intelligence being gauged by specific situations, being able to rapidly problem solve as the situations come about. And if you measure intelligence by that, you would actually realize that you're living in a pretty low IQ society.
Yeah.
In which you have America, which has not been able to solve any of its problems without the threat of force.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely.
Think about this right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a guy up here who wants to call himself a conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Did you research what you're being conservative about? Because there are no real black conservatives since the fucking 60s and 70s.
Correct.
If you really want to look at conservatives,
black conservative era, I mean, if you really look at the last of the true black conservative era, you're looking at the Black Panther era. That's a black conservative movement.
Yeah.
You know what?
Because that was before the collapse of the church, and the church is a black conservative institution.
I'm gonna tell you.
Before its destabilization, with when they started teaching that, especially women in church, that you didn't need any man because you had Jesus, and Jesus is this mythical, magical, miracle making man in the sky that never appears whenever you need him, but you always call on in your time of strife.
Sweet dick Jesus.
I mean, look, man, look, crime retribution reality. If I hurt your feelings by calling you a coon, I won't call you any more names, man. All right, now bring your ass on the street.
I'll say this to him: if he's hurt by the word coon, it's probably because he is one.
Oh, he can't do
that. I'm gonna tell you something. My great uncle one time told me: only hit dogs holler.
Ooh.
Look, let me show you where this thinking came from: reality, crime, and retribution. Here's one of the theories of causality that you see parried in a lot of this information you're reading. There's this term called anthropological criminology. We'll break down some of the origins of it. Sierra Lambrostro, founder of the Italian School of Criminology, argued that criminal behavior was the byproduct of biological factors, including race. He was among the first criminologists to claim a direct link between race and crime. This biological perspective, sometimes seen as racist and increasingly unpopular, was criticized in the early 20th century scholars, including Francis Keller, Jonathan Selin, and W. Du Bois, who argued that other circumstances such as social and economic conditions were the central factors which led to criminal behavior, regardless of race. This is the argument that's been going on since 1901 at minimum. You are still recycling the same tired points that was being brought up back then. Same tired points. And you don't even realize it. You have not taken the time.
Because the so-called Negro conservative, which is none more than a derelict Negro male who cannot think for himself. He doesn't understand that these talking points are really a precursor to basically calling you. Like, it's a justification for state-sanctioned murder. It's a justification.
Eugenics, in other words, call it what it is. Eugenics.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this one right now. Notice Cerulean didn't see my show last night. Is he saying the same talking points I made? Be careful what the fuck you're saying.
Yep.
Like, first and foremost, whether you or Soldier, whatever the fuck he was, said it because you were agreeing with the same philosophies and ideologies, by the way. When you call somebody a fucking terrorist, they will be subject to the Geneva Convention, the Patriot Act, and also subject not to civilian courts but military tribunal.
Yeah.
They might not do it for Dylan Moon, but they'll sure do it for your black ass. And for some odd reason,
if you look at the legal definition of a terrorist, according to papers like the Patriot Act or the NDAA, what's actually defined as a terrorist is so loosely and broadly defined that anybody can actually fit under the umbrella, which is why you actually have to be extra careful with labeling somebody that.
Exactly. And this is the reason why, if people didn't notice, when I actually had to look at my my audience is typically majority 35 or below.
Yeah.
Majority of my audience are actually college graduates.
True.
So if a lot of guys who like the nerdy and the more intellectual shit are in my active audience, you're not dealing with idiots when you come up into these spaces, okay? And I tried to tell Crime this shit before. You're not dealing with an idiot. These talking points, we heard it over and over and over and over and over again, to the point where I can tell you the talking points before you even speak them.
Here's what you don't realize.
Nobody's going to tell you, call you a name. Get your big boy drawers on. Come on up.
Here's what you don't realize. The reason why we're telling you what you're saying is harmful, it's not only just harmful to everyone else around you, it's harmful to yourself as well. Because you're under this delusion somehow that you're not included into this entire aggregate that's being called black. Period. There's no freaking difference when you're talking about how we interface with power. You're so stuck on this relative plantation dynamic of us being relegated to skin tone and privileges relegated to, where we stand with so-called massa or the dominant society, which is what that's a microcosm of at this point. You fail to realize that you undermine your own power by saying the things you're saying, especially when you don't do thorough research and learn the nuance on how you need to talk about this. Because black, again, is not some kind of adjective that describes a characteristic. It is a social class designation.
Yeah.
Period.
Race has only been around for like what, 600 years?
So let me finish the point. This
Sorry.
is a direct lead-in into eugenics. And please tell me you understand what the hell eugenics is. Because if you don't, you got no business talking about any of this in public.
Matter of fact, let's break it down even further. Tell us what the word eugenics itself means,
Oh.
and then we can start the conversation. Because people may think, oh, because I hate it when people say you think you're better than people because you're a cop. Well, no, if the citizens think I'm better than people because I made it to be such.
Right.
If you really want to, because those are the motherfuckers who make the criteria for me to be a cop. But I digress. But once again, I'm tired of motherfuckers coming into the arguments and coming into spaces. Actually, I'm not, because I love fresh meat, by the way. I just say it because it sounds great at this time. But I digress. Back to the speech. I love it. I'll go back to it. I love it. You know why? Because these are teaching moments.
Yep.
These are great teaching moments. For like when the audience or somebody else who wants to come in here, I don't give a damn if you're black. I don't give a damn if you're white. I don't give a damn if you're Asian. Trust me. You're going to get your ass handed to you.
Yeah.
If you're not researching, you're going to get your ass handed to you. See, you try to talk about criminology to a cop. I want you to really think about that.
Yeah, I mean, even like you hear this a lot of times from the conservative side of the aisle, especially from Negroes, right? Because Negroes that buy into the conservative nonsense, they believe it to be true because they want it to be true so bad because it gives them a chance to be better than somebody.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Extra butter biscuit from Massa.
And I get it. I mean, I get it if you were just frustrated with the hood because Sharkeisha didn't shoot you or something. Come on.
If I can introduce, say, a degenerate population that's within my own subsect of American society, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then, and I don't fit into these narrowly defined and generally kind of shallow definitions, right? Like, well, you're either educated lame or you're a Pookie and a Ray Ray. It's so generic, right? It's so generic where it's saying that you can be dynamic and have parts of the street and parts of academia, lingering within your psyche or any of that. You have to be one or the other. You have to choose a side, but the side that is made up is these imaginary gradients.
Yeah,
like that's all we are. We're either educated lame or we're Pookie or Ray.
right, right.
It's so funny because that literally comes from Michelle Wallace's book, 1972, Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman.
Oh,
where those terms were kind of drawn out, right?
Yeah,
It was really kind of discredit the leaders of the Black Power movement.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I gotta stop. I gotta stop real quick because I was playing Tekken 7 and I didn't look at the chat. The genetic proportions of criminology is something that I have today. You literally just brought up something I was reading last night. For example, the alleged link between testosterone and aggression. Oh God, where should I start?
Well, see, that was the excuse that was kind of used to justify extrajudicially killing black people, like lynching and all of that, right? Because if black males produce higher testosterone than white males, all it really means is that we're more virile and fertile for longer.
We're more man than they are. We're more man than they are,
right?
Well, it's used as justification to, it validates what Francis Cress Welsing was talking about, period, at the end of the day. Because white genetic survival is predicated on protecting the white womb. Why? Because the only way you get white is if you have W plus W. Any W plus anything else equals an NW, non-white. And that's the issue at the end of the day. People forget this nonsense. And it's been laid out decades ago. I don't understand why people don't realize that racism is literally about that dynamic. And it's why you have to be separate. And it's why the group of people who have the greatest threat towards that white genetic survival have to be focused first. And it's why those that can impose sex, i.e. men, have to be targeted first. And it has been the pattern since emancipation, period. I don't know why we don't understand this.
What do you think patriarchy and hegemony actually are? Like, we have a group of males that like to think that we live in a gynocracy. We actually live in a patriarchy. We actually live in a plutocratically controlled patriarchy.
Right.
I think that's the point of entry. You kind of described that, because you look at the gynocracy. It is the end result, or the lingering result, or construct of white supremacy left over from the plantation dynamic. And I would say it even started before then, going all the way back to the continent when he started the slave trade. But I'm not saying that
the type of gynocracy that you have is an artificial construct created by Plutarchs in order to prevent competing groups of men from competing with elite non-black or white males.
That's what we're saying. So the two this concurrently is all I'm saying.
Hold on. Chaos Ring, you said you were going to say something?
One second, Kyrie. An announcement. Mr. Reality and Crime, wherever you want to call it, and there's no such thing as reality in your vocabulary or what you rhetoric. You have a certain amount of time in 5 minutes. Because there's no share limit over time. After 5 minutes, I will have the moderators, whoever's moderator in this channel, will put you in prison for infinity. Time out to infinity. Infinity. You get me, moderator? Are you hearing? Yes, 5 minutes. It's 12:23. Before 2, it's 2:23. Before 2:29 hit, if he's not up here, you'll be sent to infinity with timeout. This is just a warning. Continue. I'm not gonna go back and forth. I'm not going back and forth. Read these comments. We all hear black fucking men here. We can sit there have a dialogue.
Right.
It's one thing to tell you on the front of live stream. But hold on, Chaos. I think so. You go with infinite. Yes. All right. Go ahead. I think
Chaos went in and out, so I'm gonna repeat what he was saying. Hey, crime, retribution, and reality. You have 5 minutes to get your ass on stream, otherwise you get banned out of this chat. Timed out.
No, you're not getting banned. Oh, too many. Who's gonna start putting timeouts? You know what I'm saying? Because he was up here before. Now he's up here to take a passive role like a female. So you just go to timeout. We don't ban him. The only time you get banned on the channel, let's be good. You get banned as when there's really. Okay. But other than that, you get a timeout. So,
you know what I think is that like I don't think people understand how deep this like conservative pathology really goes, right?
Right.
They need somebody to be better than, and they're willing to do that, even criminalize or degrade members of their own group, their own demographic, in order to be it, in order to do it, right? That's why you hear a black conservative say, "Oh man, this is embarrassing for us," right? Yeah. I didn't realize how weak and complacent that it makes us look the more that you espouse these things, because it's like you're really coming from a defeatist mindset.
Well, he's up here now.
He's on a panel. He's here.
Really, you just want to have some kind of social hierarchy within Black society. You're willing to do or say anything in order to get it. But even espouse like old Southern, strategy talking points from the 20s to the 80s to even to do it.
Well, he's up here now. Let's hear what he has to say. Crime retribution. What's up?
You gotta speak, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right.
Okay.
Hold up. Let him speak.
Yeah, let him talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we ain't gonna have no shouting match. Y'all can screw on me with me off the fucking panel, right? Right?
No. Hold up. What you're gonna do is you're gonna make your argument. We're gonna be respectful. But if you say something that's some stupid shit, we're gonna call it some stupid shit.
Okay. Now, Charles, what you and BGS said the other night, y'all said I was making emotional arguments, right? That's what y'all said. Y'all said I didn't do no research. So I did some research. Okay.
And your
I did
research.
some research. Okay,
Go
let
ahead,
me
do
show you
your
my
research.
research here. Now
Show
I did
your
the research specifically on Indianapolis, Indiana. Okay. Now we got 876,862 people in the city. Okay. Now, over the course of the last 10 years, we had an increase in the black population by about 12,000, and that's concentrated in a very small section of the city. Okay. Now, also, over the course of the last 10 years, before 2010, in the preceding decade, murder was going down.
Murder's still going down,
2000. What'd you say?
Murder's still going down.
Not in Indianapolis. Hold on, can I finish?
You got 2 minutes. Make your point.
Okay, 2009 we had like 96 murders. 2019 we had about 151 murders. Now that increase in the murder has coincided with an increase in the black population. Now let me break these numbers down for you.
No.
2018.
Hold up. When you break down something, you said from what year to what year. Hold up. From what year to what year?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about from 2010 to 2020.
He's obviously.
What happened during that time?
We had an increase in the black population.
What are the reasons why crime? What are the reasons of crime?
You have social factors. You have economic factors.
No.
All kinds
if
of
I
factors.
can give it to you in verbatim, what happens?
What do you mean? What happens?
What causes crime? Did we get more jobs or less jobs? Did we get less opportunities?
I just
Everybody got the same opportunities in my city. In my city, everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's broke in my city. We all broke.
So thank you.
Okay.
So if you're having people go through a depression, right? Excuse me, a recession, and there's less jobs, less opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
because we're not making more jobs, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to coincide the fact that people are trying to come to the city where typically you have more jobs in the city. So you're going to have a bigger population.
He dropped off.
I'm trying to make sure that there isn't literally no change in percentage, because when crime went up, it was going up concurrent with the population going up. I wanted to hear those numbers again, because a larger percentage of a larger population makes sense. Right? Like simple math, right?
Hold on. Let me finish. So, was there an increase in population for white people as well?
Yes, there's also an increase.
So, maybe if you look at it from a very simplistic stat, you're going to have more people, you're going to have more crime.
But you didn't let me finish the numbers, though. I have the racial breakdown of the homicide.
Let me ask you something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out of all that population, have I not told you that systematically black neighborhoods are much more heavier policed than white ones?
That's true. I know that's
so
true.
If I go into a population looking for raccoons in the city compared to the woods, where am I going to find more raccoons?
Mm.
In the woods.
So, if I go looking for black people to commit crime and I'm only going in black neighborhoods predominantly 75 to 90% of my time, who am I going to come in contact with?
Black people.
So if I'm
not denying any of that.
Well, hold up. If I'm not policing as much as I do in one neighborhood compared to the other,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going off a simplistic status with you.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, this is what I do for a living. I've been doing this shit over a decade, 13 years, about to be 14.
Praise God.
So you're telling me,
Oh, Christian too.
you're telling me, right? If I go focusing my black ass in the black community,
Mm-hmm.
where black people tend to live together, like all races of people do. But if I don't go policing those white trash neighborhoods,
Mm-hmm.
or going over to them fucking colleges that has more drugs than a little bit, let me break it down. Oh, since I went there,
That's
I might as well
all.
break it down.
I know all about that.
So,
I've lived in a
other
poor
words,
neighborhood before.
Is are you really trying to say you increase black people in a population, you're going to increase crime? Or is it just you have an increase of population, period, which means you're going to have an increase of criminal activity, period?
Mm.
Okay, let me tell you. This is the story that was conducted. I'm telling you, this is from an Indianapolis homicide investigation. This is the numbers that they have: 151 homicide victims. 5 of those victims are Hispanic. Only 29 of those victims are white. 117 of those victims are black.
And let me ask you something: where do the white people live compared to the black people?
Okay.
Well, it goes.
The southeast side, the southeast side, the south side, there's a lot of poor white people over there. The black people in Indianapolis, they're pretty concentrated on the far east side.
So you're telling me a lot of
you mind if I cut in here, because this is the idiocy with derelict Negro males who don't understand.
Go ahead, Cerulean. Because I already proved my point
If
already.
you're going to look at crime statistics, violent crimes, you're talking about murder. See, murder means a conviction came with that. What you have to look at is manslaughter.
Yep.
I was about to go there.
Involuntary manslaughter, and you got to look at who are the majority of the people who were convicted on manslaughter. Because if
No, that's
people,
the investigation. This is an investigation. This is from the police department.
Wait.
Excuse
me for a minute, Cerulean. Excuse me for a minute, Cerulean. I'd never cut you off, but I got to say this. What does the word investigation mean?
It means you investigated.
Why do people investigate? People investigate because they don't know.
So, in other words, you only know the victims, not the suspects.
Right.
When they actually go to, we actually have, once again, vocabulary. You don't have a suspect. Once you arrest the suspect, he's no longer called a suspect. You have a defendant now. So right now, you don't even have a suspect to say, this guy could have been killed by a white guy.
Oh,
man, but now you're not being realistic. It's black people that commit murder in the ghetto.
No,
That's realism, man.
How many? Hold up. Nobody says that.
Ain't no white people coming to the ghettos to kill them niggas. They don't have that.
Hold up. Don't say anything. Let me ask you this one question.
Yeah.
How many criminal investigations have you investigated?
Zero.
Reverse the question back to me.
Okay, how many? I'm pretty sure it's been a lot. I mean, you're a police officer. And by the way, you're not the only cop I'm talking to. I ride around with the cops all the time.
All right.
What was the question you're supposed to ask me?
I just asked you, how many have you investigated?
Probably more than hairs on your head.
He's a fucking cop. Are you?
Don't say anything. So you're telling me that you're doing ride-alongs mean more to me, that I've written more reports on the fucking death as an injured officer than you even seen as a crime.
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying...
Well, that's what you just told me.
No, I'm speaking, man. My first fucking case, as soon as I graduated the fucking academy, was a fucking sex offense. from a motherfucker impersonating a police officer.
Jesus Christ.
So let me put it to you this way. I've been doing this shit so fucking long, detectives don't even read my reports because they know everything's in there. They'd be like, "Oh, let's fault this report. Fuck it, he knows what he's doing." I'm not some fucking rookie. You can't go by their investigations because that's incomplete.
Mhm.
And I don't even cut off some ruling. But I'm gonna get raw with you. How the fuck you gonna say when you only got a victim? You don't even have a suspect.
Mm.
So you telling me that white
I'm
people
telling
are
you,
coming to
if
the
you're
ghetto
going
and
by
shooting
the
black
fucking
people?
Now you're
investigation,
using talking
you
points.
don't have a suspect.
No, that ain't no talking point.
That's a fucking talking point.
That
Look,
ain't no talking
you
point.
can't follow
I ain't
simple
never
math.
seen no white
You
person come
can't
to the ghetto and
follow
just start some shit.
simple math where
So
you
what was Dylan
said
Roof?
the population, right, increased simultaneously with the increase in supposed investigations on this. And then number two,
Oh,
you're not producing the hard stats that show what people were actually convicted with versus what they were arrested for.
You
I mean,
need
this
to
is
do that.
basic control factor.
That's not even basic.
couple
You
years
didn't even have an arrest yet.
Fucking God,
Oh,
dude.
Okay,
Like,
how many of y'all have ever lived in the ghetto? How many of y'all have ever lived in the
I
ghetto?
was born
We're
in
Lived
not
in the ghetto.
going by. We're not going to go
jackass.
by emotional shit. Matter of fact, Tom, finish what you're going to say.
That's why I asked the question.
No.
How many?
Finish what you were going to say about the investigation.
How many of y'all live in the fucking ghetto?
No,
Teach us
I
how to
already finished what I said. If you got
So in
107,
other words, you do know investigation means you don't have a suspect, right?
Mhm.
okay, that's right.
So that's not a conviction, right?
Mhm.
That would be correct. And
That's
some of
not
those
an
people,
arrest,
right?
right?
Some of those are unsolved. You're right. You're right. Some of those are unsolved.
So a lot of this shit that happens, how many times in some of these cities we get people lynching and these dumbass cops say it's a suicide? Like I could really yank my fucking self by my neck 30 fucking feet in the fucking air and say it's a suicide. Right?
Okay.
Because let's factor in. Nobody talks about mayhem. You know what mayhem is, right? Yes, no, maybe so. Any, meeny, miny, mo.
As far as the actual crime, I don't know the actual definition of that. No.
Mayhem is if we get in a fight and I take your eyesight or I take a limb off of you, but I don't kill you.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
Okay? See, when guys like you
Okay.
come onto these panels, I'm going to give you fair warning. Come correct with your shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to belittle you. I'm actually trying to help you. Because when you bring out these little things, these little fucking talking points,
Mhm.
especially against somebody who's worked in the field, who's from East Baltimore, who still lives in East Baltimore, who still shops where he works. Okay? Foot on boots on the fucking ground. Don't come for me and try to say, I don't know what the fuck I seen and done.
I didn't tell you that you didn't know what you was talking about. I didn't never say that.
Because when you come in for some stats with Indianapolis and you just giving me investigations, I'm going to throw the fucking paper back at you and say, where are the convictions? Just like I could pull up the stats on all the white people. I bet you they fucking top us out when it comes to fucking sex offenses and rape.
Well, if you want to know Indianapolis, I mean, I covered this probably 2 years ago. I mean, you look at Indiana, the state of Indiana. Last year, they had 171 homicides. Only 90. Let's say, what was it? I think it was like 73 of them or 74 of them were even solved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Indianapolis.
So if more than half of the murders are even unsolved, you don't even have the data to substantiate this idea that blacks are more violent in Indianapolis. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And let me point out the fact that you asked everybody here, has anybody else lived in the ghetto? That was a passive aggressive way of saying that we didn't know what the fuck we were talking about. For the record, I was born and raised in Flint, Michigan.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Since you from Flint, Michigan,
That's
do
correct.
white people come to your neighborhood? Where are you from? Is it normal for them to just come to your neighborhood and just start shit? Is that normal?
Ever heard of a company called Blackwater?
No, I never heard that.
So this also happened in Hurricane
You never heard of Blackwater?
Wow. You don't know Blackwater. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Well, they're now the Academy now, but
the Academy now. You know what I'm talking about?
ZE.
All right, let me learn you a little something real quick. This happened during Katrina too. What you would have is white contractors that would come in the hood during a natural disaster when the water crisis first popped up, and they would start trouble. You would have instigators. Matter of fact, I used to be in the Army National Guard. We were actually trained and we were anticipating a situation where agitators would rise up using the water crisis. So yes, white people do come into the hood. They come in as road cops at times. Sometimes they come in to start trouble. They instigate situations and they create protests. Some people do get shot up by white folks. Happens all the time. There's actually a town called Burton, Michigan, which a lot of old folks call Little Dixie because they used to go out into the hoods. They used to fuck with black folks all day in Burton, which is right next door. You also have Clark, Michigan, where there's white folks at. Do you want me to continue on?
My personal experience growing up in a place where I grew up, I didn't never see no white people. I barely even saw a white person until I moved to Georgia. White people wasn't coming to my neighborhood, Town on the south side of Chicago and South Shore. They wasn't coming over there killing no niggas.
Let me
So, hey, that's my personal experience.
That's your personal experience.
That you didn't see. Ever heard of White Boy Rick? Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Let me explain this, right?
That's fine.
What did I tell you and Soldier? And this is the cardinal sin of the average black.
Yeah.
You have a very short-sighted view of the world. The reason why they don't have to do this is because some of these motherfuckers run your city to fuck with your city. Yes, you have some people who come from different towns to be police, not all, because it's a good 2-3% who comes from these fucking places, have no fucking idea about black people, and will do shit either because out of ignorance or out of
Charles, can I add to that specifically? My brother, recently he moved back to DC, but he was living out there with his baby mama in Marion, Illinois. And I want you to understand something. When you say that, yes, you have a subjective personal experience. No one's trying to discount that. But you cannot take that personal experience and conflate it to the black experience as an aggregate. You know that my brother literally was repeatedly beaten and harassed by not only the police officers there, but by Klan members that were meeting out there that came into the black community on a regular basis out there and still do to this day. I got family that live out in Fredericksburg. They still have to deal with rallies that go down out there. They still can't be out at certain times of night, being in certain places. Where we were at in Woodbridge, that's about 20 minutes south of DC.
Yeah.
You still have these folks coming in there with Prince William County. Did you know that Prince William County literally created the pilot program that ICE is based off of now? They sampled that when we were living there in the 90s. We would literally have to repeatedly go and pick my brother up out of jail because he was getting arrested just walking down the damn street. And when my mom showed up and she was speaking perfectly clear English, they let him go.
Well, I don't want you guys to use your personal stories, as anecdotes, because that's what gaslighting kind of.
No. I'm not coming from that perspective. I'm saying to show how it's a moot point for me to use my experience to try to justify one angle.
Like here in the Twin Cities. Hold on. Right. Here in the Twin Cities back in June. Oh, give me a second, Chaos. Here in the Twin Cities back in June. The protest the George Floyd protests were calming down, and white mass shooter out of a Minneapolis town called Uptown, Lower Uptown, which is a mixed community. A lot of black folk over there. Killed one person. 11 people were wounded. Nobody ever referred to it as white on white violence.
Well, he wants to talk about white folks coming into the hood all the time. What was Dylan Roof? That was a classic.
Well, see, the thing is that some of those victims were black.
Yeah, sorry.
One of the victims was an Asian. Another one of the victims was a Somalian. But the majority of the people that he actually shot were white, and the killer is actually still on the loose.
Yeah.
So we talk about or white people just coming into the community. Yeah, they've been doing it. The only difference now was that you have tape evidence.
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, you haven't heard about Tulsa? Shit.
Got bombed down. I just want to know where are all his talking points when Chicago and these so-called hood cities were ran by white people? Like, let's think about all the race riots that popped up back in the labor race riots in Michigan, where they had all these different white immigrants, Polish and Irish and whatnot, going to war with black people because black folks are coming up to the Great Migration, working as Pullman porters and taking the automotive jobs. But we're not going to talk about that.
Matter of fact, we'll talk about this month and last month. Mm-hmm. How many motherfuckers came protesting in black neighborhoods who were white, who were fucking up the property and spray painting every goddamn where?
Remember the white girl that
recorded on video?
Yeah,
got it recorded on video. That's the whole reason why I brought that up. And my personal experience is to show that your personal experience, while it's relative to you, may not necessarily be relative to the aggregate, and therefore it's not giving the whole picture. And you don't know what other people have been through. So just understand.
So let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?
That's the reason. Hold
on, one at a time.
That's the reason I didn't want you guys to use your personal experience as an antidote for the situation, because the person gaslighting could say, well, I grew up in the ghetto and and niggas was killing each other, like there was only like 6 niggas left,
According to him, crime is exclusive to black people.
So crime. You're gonna make your rebuttal now.
They killed all but 6 niggas in the hood where I was coming from. This is all types of stupidity.
But didn't
Yeah.
Sorry.
I hear air in the background. Somebody outside?
Okay. I'm gonna mute up because I'm gonna sit up so y'all don't hear the air. But crime, I want to hear your rebuttal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll mute up.
When you say that my experience growing up where I grew up, when you say that that's just me, the reason why I'm so skeptical of that, I have lived in 3 different states in this country, and I've seen the exact same thing every single place where I've lived in this country. Now, nameless protagonist, do you really think that the average black person growing up in the ghetto has to worry about white people coming into his neighborhood, starting something, or having any type of problem with them? Because where I'm from, where I've lived at, it's not like that. For a person like me that's not gang banging, that's not in a gang, that's not doing that kind of shit, me growing up, I had to worry about other black people. And every other black person who I know who grew up in the ghetto that's not involved in that foolishness, they had to worry about other black people. So do you think that the average kid growing up in the ghetto has to worry about white people doing anything violent towards them?
Let me respond to that. Because he corrected it to me. First and foremost, you just finished saying your subjective experience, right? You just said your personal experience in the 3 places you moved to. I want you to understand, my parents were both in the military. I've been all over this country growing up. I just happened to yo-yo back and forth to DC into the different places I've been to. And I see the same thing on both sides. I've seen black folks I have to worry about. I've seen white folks I've had to worry about. I've seen Asian folks I've had to worry about. I've seen Spanish people I've had to worry about, depending on where you go.
Yep.
I've been overseas to Germany. I had to deal with that nonsense. I've been in Japan. I had to deal with that nonsense, but it was actually a little bit more. It was more comfortable. But bottom line is, you're catching it from both angles. You can't say that just because someone's experienced one subjective experience, that again, it's reflective of everybody. You can't quantify, a quote experience that other Black people have versus other Black people. People are dangerous to each other in proximity to where they live, obviously, period. Obviously. And that's just what's across the board with what's recorded. I just want to finish this point, Cerulean, because he directed it at me.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, again, I've experienced both. And most people you will talk to will have one experience or the other. What is the point you're bringing by asking that question? How is that relevant? How is that relative? Valid.
I can actually answer that for you because it's a matter of perception. If you listen to the way that he actually structured the question, do you think the average Black person has to worry about a white person? Actually, the average Black person should worry about white people in close proximity to them because they're the most dangerous in your proximity than any other group of people. Now, the reason why he asked that is because he idolizes white people.
Right.
See, that's the purpose of propaganda. There's two main functions: to criminalize the group that you want to criminalize, and to avert your eyes from the group that is actually more criminal, and avert your eyes away from them. You see, and when you look at white crime, white criminality, you don't see it really often reported on the news. Like literally, the news wasn't even going to break a Dylan Roof story until alternative media sources started releasing it, like YouTube. All that, Daily Mail, and so forth, and so on, started publicizing that story. You wouldn't even have seen it being covered by mainstream media.
That's correct.
That's why we call that a talking point.
I got a question. What does he mean by average? Because I live in Houston right now. Where I live at right now, Mexicans are who I'm worried about, not Ray and Lil Loud Pack.
Okay, I had to worry about them too. So yeah, I'll give you that with the Mexicans. I'll give you that too.
Mm-hmm. When I was in
Gino,
the Detroit area, go ahead. What's up? Talk to me.
Let me ask you this. Are you familiar with Dayton Avenue?
Dayton Avenue in Flint, Michigan? Yes, I know exactly about Dayton Avenue.
Okay. If you go to Dayton Avenue right now, it's almost 2:00 in the morning. Mm-hmm. If you go over there to that specific street, now, who's more likely to do something to you?
Let's take a Google that.
Let me break this shit down, right?
All right.
Okay, let me break this shit down because what you're doing is playing semantics. Okay. Okay. Did I not teach everybody what causes crime?
Yeah.
Economically driven circumstances. People don't have jobs. People not getting money. What the hell do you expect?
And the number one thing about crime is proximity.
Correct. Anybody who's played a game of SimCity can answer that fucking question.
So I said this a million times.
So when you actually make up this shit and say, well, if you go on this block, will you get fucked by Black people?
We Google that shit.
Baltimore is 70% Black, roughly 67 to 70% Black. If you're a cop in Baltimore, there's a 7 out of 10 chance you're going to run into a Black person. It's that Black.
You know what's funny about that, Charles, is I actually did an article on the Baltimore police force where the blacker the police force became, the lower Black crime actually became as well.
Exactly.
Yep.
Because guess what?
Because police are where crime reported.
Because by the time Commissioner Bishop, who was the first Black commissioner here, noticed, you started getting more police officers in higher positions. And look what happened. Hey, you got less offenses by Black people because guess what? Are you more likely going to be arrested by somebody who empathize or sympathize with you?
Yeah.
And see, something that you're not talking about, crime and retribution, that's really irritating me, is you won't bring up areas that Black people live in where the middle class income is like Silver Springs, for example.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
Silver Springs, again, is an area I work with people from that area.
Or PG.
There is PG County, same thing.
Oh, yeah.
There is a direct correlation to crime and income level.
Correct.
I never said it wasn't. I never said
Okay,
it wasn't.
but you keep
Well,
making
finish.
these cherry picking arguments about these areas that are notoriously low income, and then using these.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Number one, when black people started joining the military, especially when they fucking had us in World War II, where a majority of us went, guess what? Did black home ownership go up or down? Hello?
It went up.
Why?
Yeah, it skyrocketed up.
Why crime?
They could afford it. They could afford it.
They had the means.
Well, no. Not just afford it. What's one of the benefits you get from serving in the military?
VA loan.
Yeah, you
So,
Yep, the
Right.
VA.
if you gave black people the same fucking exact benefits as every fucking body else, the same jobs, what happens to crime in the black community?
Goes down. There's
So,
so many studies about that.
So, if you notice that, why do you act like this doesn't play a fucking factor?
Well, I mean, that's also a good point, you know, because I always like to make the point that you look at the high participation rate in the military, black folks during the 90s. Is literally what brought us out of this the Great Depression that was created by the crack epidemic.
I mean,
and you look at this this modern rise and increase. It's been slowly rising, but it's rising nonetheless. In black techies, black techies are literally the only thing that's staving us off from complete economic deprivation.
Correct. That's true. What really pissed me off about his question is, first of all, he Googled that fucking street for Flint because he don't know Dayton Avenue. The average income level is like 20,000 in Dayton. Now he didn't bring up Hill Road and Grand Blanc, where if you plot me down in Hill Road and Grand Blanc, which is outside of Flint, the average person I got to worry about is a white boy. If you drop me in Fenton, if I start just pulling random fucking streets, your threats are going to change. That was a really goofy question to ask.
And that was why I asked him why he didn't bring up Silver
meant
Spring.
to gaslight you. See, it was a question meant to gaslight you, so that you get talking about personal experience and then using it as anecdote. And then that way he can come back and say, well, you know, I lived in this neighborhood and niggas was killing niggas. Like, you was literally walking over the dead bodies, man. It was it was only like 3 niggas left and I was one of them. You know, it's one of those.
Crime, why are you running? Crime, why are you running? Where did you go? Why are you running?
Yeah, why do you run? That's why Uncle Chuck's
like think about it. Forget, fellas. Let me ask you a question, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he said I didn't run the first time he came on my channel, did he run or did he not run?
I think he ran.
Did he do it then?
Now he got things.
I stopped you,
Yeah,
and I said, "Nah, fuck all this."
Yeah.
What happens if you increase the benefits and the wealth in the community? Does crime go up or down?
Goes up. I mean, it goes down. Sorry.
That's why you always play. See, I do this shit to show you how to confront these jackasses and these fucking bedwenters.
Yeah.
Because first of all, you can go around the circle with them because I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes it's fun to make them look even more dumber and stupider, ignorant as a motherfucker. But sometimes if you want to shut a motherfucker down, you go for the king and right to the chin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why you stopped me. Yeah, which makes sense because you knew what I was about to do.
I can take them to the book, the Oxford Handbook of Urban Politics, right? Oxford Handbook of Urban Politics talks about how crime is actually manufactured.
It is.
And one of the most celebrated white supremacist presidents actually artificially increased the crime rate just by criminalizing behavior. His name was Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan, that's right. That's true.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I can go back to the whole Irish and Italian. They had all these insane crime rates, but they started employing them in the fire department and police department, and the crime rates went down sharply. So they had the solution.
That was actually
let me say,
hold on.
Yeah, if you think about criminality, and this is what's problem with a lot of our people, crime is represented of lack of opportunity and jobs. Just because a person say you're not working hard, you choose the pipe. No, because your enemy our rule design an environment to give you the opportunity to engage in criminality because by nature he's a criminal. That's why we see you start taking most of the jobs overseas after the 60s, going 70s. Even with the gold standard was removed back that same one, he set the climate to say we're going to start throwing more people in prison. And you know who's top of this? Niggas. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you look at Richard Nixon, 1971, when he announced the war on drugs.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Like his Department of Public Affairs secretary, so it was John Ehrlichman. John Ehrlichman in a 2016 Harper's Ferry article, the Harper's Ferry magazine article, where he said that the Nixon administration had two enemies: the anti-war left and black males.
Oh.
Now, the thing is that if you, depending on who you're really listening to, if you go to the two-party South,
yeah,
what it actually was in order to kill any possible competition for what will become right now the world's biggest pharma exporters.
Yeah.
I feel like Monsanto, Bayer, GlaxoSmithKline. Well, you had blacks that were picking up on the drug trade. In fact, it was blacks that actually saved the banks during the South American Contras and the Sandinista debacle and all of that, when the drug trade was moving from South America to the Middle East.
Yeah.
And so when people don't really understand this, and so they make it a moral argument. And when you make it a moral argument, that implies emotionalism.
Yeah, it does.
And that's the reason why you never go into the. Notice how he tried to win the argument. He tried to get you into an emotional place when he talked about. That's why I was like, nah. We're going back factual with this nigga.
Yeah, you stop me because some of the shit that he says is infuriating.
It's called the appeal. It's called the appeal to the appeal to moralism. Moralism doesn't have any place in the debate because the debates are about facts and objectivity.
Yeah, because
he was there to explain how he felt. That's all that was. He felt like he was done wrong by black folks in some way or another, and so this was his way to try to validate and justify using that subjective experience with these, and I can't even call them poorly researched facts, poor, just simple reading comprehension issues.
There's no research.
How do he can't even articulate the point as a result.
I mean, if you want to make a proper appeal to moralism, let's compare Pfizer to the crack epidemic. Pfizer killed more than 4.5 times as many people as the crack epidemic in the black community killed.
That's true. They killed my grandmother. Pfizer killed my grandmother before I was born.
Also, BMT, if you're here, salute, man. What's good?
What's up, BMT?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hopefully you enjoyed the show, BMT.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know y'all had a show, man. I was talking with a few people, and man, I saw it just popped up. I guess, like I said, I'm just listening to brothers, but no, y'all were doing good. I like people who just actually bring out proper information, and one of the things about it but I hear it a lot about the hood, the community, and I usually just say these people just don't have. You can't help where you're born, but you can always fight your way out. Like the negative zone. You know what I'm saying? You're born. I wasn't born in I was born in Boston, and it wasn't always the best place. But I have parents who are working class.
Question: Roxbury or Dorchester? I used to live out there.
I lived right across from Franklin Park Zoo.
I used to work for a contractor out. You know where Santander's at? Yeah, I used to work for a consulting firm out there. I lived in New Hampshire, but I pop back and forth to Boston all the time. That's crazy. Right. Go ahead.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, a lot of the blacks were just like, yo, we're just trying to get by.
Yep.
But majority of blacks are working class, like they, but they like to show the people that look at all of them. That's all of them. See how they all act like animals? I'm like, dude, 9 to 5 or shit before the sun comes up. I can promise you, if you go out there and see a bunch of cars rolling out, those are usually the black families or black people trying. Like majority of the essential people that people were working were blacks. They were just still working, so nobody was staying home. So the fact that they always like to show that we out there for Jordans and other kinds of stuff, and I pulled out the thing about the young brother who died, who was killed, Elijah McClain.
McCain, yep.
We like to have this misdirection that they never talk about the brother. A lot of our children stay like literally are thugs or hoodlums or fighting and stuff. I mean, they may dress like some little swag or something like that, but for the most part, we got good kids. We have a lot of good kids that are like, they look one way, but they're really smart.
Look, this generation of black kids are like unlike any other group of black children ever in the history of this country. They're smarter. They learn faster. I'm seeing black kids literally graduate high school, 2-3 years early.
Yeah.
Like we have the literally this is the best crop as far as overall intelligence. They're fastest learners. They were born with tech, literally came out of the damn womb with tech in their hands.
Yeah.
Right. But those don't get told. So when you hear the stories about, and I mind you, a lot of people are just not finding out about introverts and extroverts. That a lot of our children rather be inside playing with tech and stuff. So like the young brother who died getting killed by the cops by being compliant, those stories never get told.
Nope.
Well, the reason why it's an old mainstream media trope. See, the mainstream media has a formula that it works by. Your morning news, they like to tell you something bright because they know on Monday morning you're gonna have a shitty day because it's Monday.
Yeah.
You see. So they tell you something that morning to get your spirits up, right? They show you the firefighter rescuing a kitten out of the tree and giving it to this little kid, and he pats him on the head like make sure you keep track of them. So we don't have to keep going out here. And then what you get by noon, you have your afternoon talk, celebrity gossip, yada yada yada, and then comes 6 o'clock. It's the nigga news. They tell you what niggas
on cue.
Where the only black representation that they have is going to be from the lower class blacks. Those are blacks that, mind you, are living in abject poverty in the richest country in the world, which is not actually an insult to those lower class blacks, but an insult to the country itself. Because how did you have people in the richest country in the world living in abject poverty?
Meanwhile, not a single word is being talked about in these so-called trailer parks that dude was trying to defend about the exact same thing happening, if not worse. And that's why
I've said this for the longest. I've said this for the longest time. This is the reason people pick on me, and they always tell me, Charles, why do you bring these people up there? Because I like making idiots still look stupid.
Yeah.
Exactly. I could literally go back and show you in the 60s they were talking about Chicago, right?
Yeah, they were.
Tonight at 6, 70 Negroes or 70 Negroes killed in just a matter of hours. More.
See, that's why
it's like, leave it there, and then now you got niggas literally thinking that niggas are like the worst thing ever, right? It's like literally you look at black men that are locked up, they are like 0.001% of the overall black population, but yet they are the most focused on by mainstream media.
What you call gaslighting, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why Cerulli
how y'all doing tonight?
What's going on, Q? That's why Cerulli and Uncle Chuck both kind of stopped me at the door. because homeboy stupidity is infuriating. I was really getting angry at some of his stupid ass talking points. What's
I
up,
know
Q?
I've heard it all. Like I'm beyond it. Like getting
What
angry
happened?
with it.
What did I miss?
Like, if anything, I pity people like that because in a generation, these are going to be the same people crying, right, about how bad America is treating them, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
And it's like, oh, but you were a contributor to that whenever you were using mainstream narratives to quantify the whole of Black society.
Well, it's always going to be an unfair bias. Like I asked the question in a chat. It said, isn't it interesting when the white shot the people that were shooting in the church? That was heroic. Somebody was shooting up a black funeral, black shot back. That was gangbanging, and I was like, God damn, that is crazy. Well, why would they have guns at a funeral? Why would you have guns in church? Like, let me see. I mean, is that not an amendment? Those were gangbanging, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I get it. It's you just wrong color, wrong time. No matter what history. I mean, you don't control your media, so they'll spin the story. And I've talked to people who do live in Illinois, and they've said, like, listen, if a Latin dies, that house is black. If it's anything that is not white, it's black. So no matter what, it's just black killing black. Even though you could be like, wait, did all those killings happen? No, that wasn't even literally we weren't even there that time. But somehow we all were killing each other. So it amazes. That's why I don't even play the game anymore. I just like, you know what? I'm tired out, man. I'm spiritually tired. Like, goddamn, I gotta save my energy.
Yeah, like these are people that are really literally programmed by mainstream media. Tonight at 6, one of the biggest drive-bys in Chicago's history, at least 12 people dead and 50 people injured. More at 9. I'll tell you what group of Negroes you should hate. It's just like and you have that shit repeated over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Spread the newspapers. Matter of fact, it's digital now, so it's in your New York Times online. It's in your your Daily Mail, right? It's in your Apple News.
That's why I brought that up earlier.
Dino, and I'm always gonna say this to Dino and Aqua and Nameless. Some of the brothers who are a little bit younger. What's been going on Simply Unique? Shout out to the lovely Simply Unique. Woo. Guns are only bad when we have them, which is correct. This the same motherfucker who would say, who you ask the question, should black people own guns?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes, you should own guns.
Let him finish.
And how he says and how he answers it, you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know my
But at
position
the
on
same
that.
time-
I think black people should own guns, whether legal or illegal. Yeah,
correct.
But at the same time, these folks will literally copy and paste certain talking points and say, I'm for Second Amendment. And then you ask that very same question about black folk. Well, in urban situation, that nonsense. It's just like, what kind of, schizophrenic concept that you try to run with? Like, we don't have a whole 13th Amendment that didn't get formed because black folks had guns. Like, I can't with the intellectual dishonesty, and that's all that boils down to at the end of the day. It's just too consistent. We're dealing with the same cookie cutter templates. Like you were saying, Silverlin, these folks been doing this ever since we got off the plantation.
Yeah, I mean, like let's be honest, right? Like, if we wanted to really end gun violence, you could end it overnight just by gun proliferation. Same way they did with the nuclear pact in 1972. See, when nuclear weapons were proliferated, right? You haven't seen anybody or heard of anybody using a nuclear weapon since Nagasaki, Hiroshima.
Well, X was saying that. He said they can't mess with them because if everyone has a nuke, can't nobody use a nuke, so nobody has them.
So if everybody has guns, then
there we go. It's the same deal.
But that like I said, it got real when I was telling blacks, listen, yo, let's start doing rifle training and all that stuff. I can't tell you how many blacks were like, are you trying to get them killed? And I'm like, wait, hold up, man. 2 videos over there about them. I'm doing actual weapons over there.
qualified, and also this is one of my businesses, and you're questioning me,
Yeah.
and I'm literally actually having kids shoot Red Ryder 22 rifles, and I literally had the cops call on me 4 times about training kids how to look tools in my yard.
Wow.
But yeah,
Walking around with M4, nobody questions Fortnite want to be shooting. But I'm like,
but yeah, once again, one of the arguing factors to I can't even call him crime. I call him misdemeanor.
Wow.
You know, one of the questions I have for misdemeanor was like, if we're so violent, how many schools are we shooting up?
That's a classic.
Are we around guns more than white people?
That's not true. That's not true.
Are we around guns more than white people? Because guess what? I'm subscribed to plenty of gun channels. Who doesn't fuck with them?
I went to a college out in the country, Georgia Southern, down to Statesboro by Savannah. Those white boys in Bullitt County were gunned out. Like, we were paintballing out there, these motherfuckers. And you trying to tell me that really? Like, I've lived in the rural area. That's why when he was doing all that, I lived in 3 states, and I was like, well, I lived in fucking 10. You want a goddamn cookie? I lived in urban areas. I've learned in rural areas. I mean, I've done it all. And you can't tell me that black folks have an intense concentration of guns. White people have more guns than black folks do.
Yeah, they do. Like, I want to ask you this one question, fellas. When did you ever see a black gun show?
Nope.
Oh, shit. Nope.
We're
rarely.
trying to get one, and we keep getting shut down.
You can't even get one in Houston. Houston's a black city.
I don't think
I'm in Dallas.
I don't think I've ever seen a black gun show.
But Carl, let's keep it real. When we're talking about guns, really the cops don't really want black people to have guns because now said they can't get their free kills like they used to. It's all you exactly. They are easy. Now I gotta work. Yeah,
it's the same thing with when we first started talking about the Gray Faulkner initiative more than 2 years ago. And man, they ain't gonna never work, man. Black man ain't got no business in the white man's military. It was like,
oh God.
Like, so you're gonna allow them to have a complete monopoly?
Right.
It's the same thing I say with guns. Like people that discourage guns, I think you should own them, whether they be legal or illegal, just in case, right? That there is some kind of state policy where they start rounding up gun owners. Right?
Yeah.
Now they know where to look to find your guns in the case they want to confiscate them. Right.
That's true.
So you should have some that are not on the damn books in a stash somewhere.
Correct. Hey,
how many folks that actually use weapons, train with them, know what to do with them, keep them maintained, that either one weren't prior military or law enforcement, overwhelmingly, if they happen to be.
I'm gonna tell you, it's very rare because I'm teaching my friends how to shoot. My homeboy, he brought a rifle that was a 9mm rifle, backward as a bitch, and quiet. I showed him a few techniques. Pull that motherfucker to your shoulder, control your breathing, inhale, exhale, let out half of it, pull the trigger, squeeze. I even told my homeboy, I said, look, we're gonna Cerulean, could you put something in the chat so I can give you a wrench if I didn't give you one, so you can give people copies of the Gray Faulkner initiative because everybody keeps asking. And Simply Unique's on the panel. She had a few questions for me.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing, fellas?
Hey, what's up?
Give me that blue, girl.
The great esteemed Lady Nick.
There you go.
Hey, Cerulean. So, yeah, I just had
Let us speak now.
I just had a couple quick questions for Officer Faulkner. So the first one is, have you ever heard of a gun buyback in a white neighborhood?
Wow. That's facts.
That's a
cut.
my
God. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh.
Jesus
I didn't mean to laugh. That shit was just funny as shit. You'll never have a gun buyback. You'll get a shootout between the people and the police if you ever did that in a white neighborhood.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have another question. Um, if you're on a college campus, what drugs would you have access to?
You would have more. You would have more drugs than fucking pharma. You especially. I'm gonna tell y'all a little. Y'all ready for this game?
Hell yeah, bring it
Yeah,
up.
go ahead.
Matter of
I'm
fact,
fucking
I need at least 5 people to donate to the Cash App, and I'm about to hook you up with some games.
Yeah, man. The cards, man. Hold on, Charles. I got it.
Put the cards we got. Y'all giving me, and shout out to everybody on the panel. Y'all giving me a hell of a show tonight.
Hell yeah. Had a
This
real
is the reason why I like having the guys on there. I'm an antagonistic motherfucker. Come on up. Come on up. I'm gonna make some of y'all yours.
All right, go ahead and donate, people, because I got one more question.
So
A follow up to the college campus question.
Because we're gonna get some donations out here. We gotta donate. Donate to your interest.
Yeah, man. Support your interest, man. And me and Mr. Faulkner, I'm most of them not
Wait a
respect me.
minute. My man King Raven, the moderator. Oh shit. Oh
She
shit.
came out blazing. She came out blazing. There's a buyback initiative in a white neighborhood. Oh my god!
No, I got to follow up to the. I got to follow up to the college.
You could keep with the questions. Let's make it interesting. I'm going to answer your question. We have a white school, white college in Baltimore. Not naming names. Every time we would go to that campus, they would have their campus police who weren't commissioned like I am or sworn. So they would be like, "Oh, we found a whole pack of drugs." I said, "Okay, cool. Where are the drugs from in their possession?" Well, we can't give you that because of the school policy. Then you get rid of it. So I can't come to your white campus and arrest your little white darlings. But at Morgan, which is a state college, Calvin, which is a state college, and and they're both HBCUs that have their own sworn police. I can arrest them, but you can't give me the names. So we end up not doing it anymore. Don't call us for your drugs. You submit it. If we can't arrest them, you submit them.
See, look, you kind of jumped the gun on my next question because I was going to ask, what have you ever heard of a drug raid on a college campus?
A black one.
Yeah, black ones. Shit, I saw that shit at Tuskegee.
A black one. Keep coming with the question, man. Keep coming with the question, man.
The black ones.
They can't even have fraternity parties without. They can't even have fraternity parties without the police getting called on them.
Hell no.
Right. Exactly.
So here's the link from Cerulean. If anybody wants to know about the Great Falls Initiative, there you go, right there in the chat. When you look at the interesting, and people always wonder, this is actually how after we be on the Coliseum of the BGS, I would actually still be on the panels when everything shut down for 2 to 3 hours. Still conversing about it. I was like, yo, why don't we actually make, and it's really came up with a brilliant idea when we kept feeding off of each other, because great minds get along. And we were like, yo, we got to make this an initiative. Yeah. When it comes to supporting the organization, you wonder why black men are at the bottom. Put your money where your mouth is. Support a Great Falls Initiative. There should be a 50-state initiative for black boys.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, in the initiative, we even talk about trades and how we could actually change the trajectory of black tradesmen by making it a federal pipeline program to where it incentivizes black tradesmen to take on apprentices and get paid by the federal government. Like you could actually make that a policy. As a matter of fact, white people got a policy just like that.
Yep.
And it's the same thing for your police and fire departments. Historically, the Irish always had a stimulus program, an operation program called the police department.
Yep.
The Italians had a reparation program called the fire department.
Yep. I just talked about that.
How the hell, even in Baltimore, we still have our Emerald Society. Why can't we have our Ebony Society?
Right.
Why can't we have places like the Vanguard? If all the black people, all the black officers in Maryland alone donated more time, money, effort, and supplies to the Vanguard, it would be even stronger than the FOP.
Yeah. That's what I was asking Coon in punishment. I was like, okay, what is your excuse when the Irish and the Italians are out here, creating doing all sorts of crime and shit, but they got recruited into the fire and police departments? And he was like, well, and he started asking me those stupid ass questions, and I was like, yo, the shit you're talking about is not exclusive to black people. I want to ask him what his background is. He might be one of these passport black Negroes. He's nigga and shit.
I don't think
he tries to say he's a correctional officer. My boy Leon, Mr.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's much better.
Let me hear you.
My boy Leon, Mr. Committee 101, who was in the chat earlier, he's a correctional officer, and he heard the thing. He said, first of all, that's not shit that you say about young black boys, because Leon actually talks to these boys and tries to get them help out of their situation, even though they're incarcerated.
Right.
He said that's enough to start.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're supposed to
shut out the light bird candles.
Yeah, I mean, if you're incarcerated, the goal is to rehabilitate, the incarcerated. That's that's ideally why you're supposed to put them in incarceration for rehabilitation.
I mean, you look at black children that are in some kind of juvenile correctional facility or group home.
Oh boy.
What nobody ever found it weird that our black children are in these juvenile correctional facilities longer than their white counterparts, which actually sets them back like exponentially further than their white counterparts. And then whenever they graduate, there's no support. And then they're expected to go out into the world and act as adults, never having had any formal training as adults around anybody that they perceive as adults, because everybody treats them like adults that are children.
Right.
Yeah.
There's such a deep level of the plantation and the conditioning that took place there that's linked with regards to that. And so much of that is tied to what folks walked away with and embedded into the way we run our communities, essentially. And I say community tentatively, in that if you look at what was said in the Moynihan report, you get the telltale signs of off the gate black men not receiving the same level of investment as black women.
Right.
And it creates this state-sponsored exasperation of these baselines that creates an even greater divergence. And so you create an incentive for black families to simply be a mother and a child, and not a mother, father, and a child.
That's not even the first offset of the black family. Is you have to go back to the Indochina Refugee Aid and Assistance Act of 1948, where their community was infused with $300 million a year. And this is mind you, when their population was roughly around 120,000.
Right.
Right, we knew that happened, and it's still going on now in different forms and grants.
No, it's still going on in the same exact fashion. Refugee Act of 1972, same deal, over $500 million a year to the Hispanic community.
That's what I'm saying. It's still going on now.
All they had to do was claim refugee status. And what is considered a refugee is just like the term terrorist. It's so fucking oblique.
Yeah.
That anybody can fit under his banner. You come here and they actually give you this thing called relocation assistance, and they can get that for up to 5 years till they get settled in.
Well, something that's interesting now is that was brought up in the UN for black folks in particular. They're talking about offering that and extending that to black folks who may be wanting to get out of the United States and relocate somewhere and get a lot of that same thing. And it kind of animated by the same spirit that Malcolm was talking about with regards to trying to take this issue as a human rights issue and bring it globally. That's the only way you're really going to see a certain
Well,
level of
what
progress.
happens is that we have Negroes that get in the way of it because, see, it's like this. See, the immigrant will come here, right? They'll have gotten all of these welfare benefits. They're not listed on paper as welfare, but these are benefits and subsidies and whatnot that they didn't work for, they didn't earn. They were just given to them just by on the fact that they came across the border, or just by the simple fact that they had a child within the border.
Yep.
No arguments. That's facts. But I'm just saying right now it's being discussed. I mean, it's been discussed, but we're seeing it's not a matter of if, more than likely just when that Black folks are going to receive that. But speaking to the point you're making, and that these other groups of people have been able to enjoy this since their day one, and we haven't even got a shred of that. All kind of programs have been put in place that would have changed this. They get shot down either by one side or the other. And it's frustrating when we have to look at this dude that just came up. He's supposed to be a correctional officer, and this is the kind of person that's supposed to be sitting here helping Black folks. People who are
these people are stuck in a time. Let me explain something. In the 1970s, there was these think tanks that were attached to like major institutions and colleges, and what they started doing was trying to de-radicalize, Black power people. Right? Like pro-Black people. They tried to de-radicalize them. As a matter of fact, one of the most famous people that was de-radicalized in the 70s was a man, it's Thomas Sowell. These are a lot of the talking points that he created. Matter of fact, post 1980, whenever he actually goes to work for the Hoover Institute. 1972, Race and Politics reads a whole lot different than the revised version of it that came out in 1984. It's a completely different book, where in the 70s he's talking about the impact of racism in the 1972 Race and Politics. 1984 comes around, he is told that he has to revise his rhetoric in the book because it was too inflammatory.
I think one of the things about it, and I haven't released the documents on my interview. But I've been trailing through the Carolinas looking for group home or shelters for Black men.
Yeah,
that's like a rarity. It's a scarce thing. And it's pretty bad, right? It's getting really bad. Actually, COVID it really hit a lot of us really badly. So when you're starting to see a lot of men out there on the street, and we'll look at them and say, "Well, that's a crackhead," or that's some junkie or a dopey. Like if they could help it, they wouldn't want to beat it. They kind of want to have a job or something actually. But we'll use the talking points to that guy that's on the corner. You know what I'm saying, well, you know what? He's just a drug addict, or that's the hood, and that starts to get a negative marginal for corporations to push out these housings. I met this one brother. His name was Julian. He's actually he had 3 houses, but he said it's crazy. I could never get state funding, and he was like, "Well, we're getting it." Because then when I went down to the city hall, they were like, "Well, yeah, we get minorities funding for programs for housing." So when I went to the program, granted, there was women there. They weren't Black women predominantly. There were white women and Latins and all kind of shit in there.
Oh yeah, I live in the Twin Cities.
Oh no!
Look, I live in the Twin Cities. One of the biggest what you call Somali populations here in the Twin Cities, right?
Right.
There was actually a Ford Foundation actually had a program. It ended in November of 2019, where if Somali foreign national or Somali immigrant needed money with just about anything. They needed money with transportation. They had a program for them to get these free MTC cards that basically last for like a month, or Go Passes, or in some cases cars for families. They could go there and get business loans for their business aspirations. They actually were funded by, they're actually funded through the federal government to where an individual with business aspirations could go to that Ford Foundation and get $100,000 to start a business.
But you know the thing bad about it, Trulian, is, and I know what you're talking about, but it kind of fucked me. But I've been homeless before, and I know it's hard. We always tell these black men. I hear a lot of these talk. You know what, my dad, or you know what, these dudes just need to leave to die. And I'm like, well, damn, what made you hate that man so much? He don't even know you. And so when you ask and you start going down into the source, and you'll see these guys are like, yo, man, like the police made me leave my home, and I had to sleep on the street. I got robbed. Different stuff happened. I couldn't keep a job. And you're like, yo, so why am I paying taxes if there's no place for this guy to sleep? So then you get picked up by law enforcement or different agencies and say, well, guess what? You're going to jail because you're loitering. So now you got a record, and you definitely can't get in the system. So you're going to turn to what? Crime. Because now it's the ultimate trick bag, man. The ultimate fucking trick bag. So
what do you think the charge of loitering is? It's a criminalizing behavior. Person has got nowhere to go, is basically loitering. And so it's a crime to basically be homeless.
It's, in other words, they made these crimes. Like, do you know the history of marijuana, for example?
With the FBI trying to say it causes you to be, quote, feverish and go rape white women.
Yep. And then they made it illegal because before black people got their hands on it, Mexicans were smoking that shit.
Yeah.
Why do you think they made alcohol in certain towns illegal? Because the same shit, the same rhetoric. Like a lot of these drugs, by the way, they also made it illegal because guess who was involved? All these construction companies, especially if they were involved with cement and cement mixing, would have lost out. Because if you make a fucking house with materials made out of hemp, the house becomes pretty much earthquake proof. And it would cost a fifth of the price you would get for cement and concrete.
You know, the system is definitely, and like I said, I have not even received business, but I literally had it where one of my white counterparts came and said, "Yo, Joe, did you get your funding?" I said, "Funding? What funding are you talking about?" Oh, well, maybe you should apply. And I asked, and I asked at the auction house, I said, "Yo," but I went to ask all the other blacks. Did you get any letters, paperwork? No. Oh, what are you talking about? So I'm like, wait, hold the fuck up. The whites got the funding. We didn't get shit to survive the pandemic.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I lost my one of my businesses, and I gotta take that slap to the cheek. You know, and it's like I said, it's hard. But I'm also saying, like, I'm hearing the talking point, like, we're gonna file through this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because you clearly, I'm not part of the dream. I'm not part of the pick your bootstraps up club.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely have it where if you ain't part of the club, you out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'm trying to let a lot of brothers know, like, yo, man, it's going to get a lot harder this winter. Like, like we're on some kind of goddamn shit. Winter is coming because, as you notice, how they're changing up on a lot of policies for schooling and businesses and stuff. That shit's going to hit the minority, especially the African Americans, harder than anybody. We always take the blunt. Like, everybody gets a flu, we get goddamn Ebola or something even more drastic.
That don't even make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, see that there we go again with not putting the bigger picture into perspective. Having a complete disconnection from the community you say you're a part of, and believing that you're somehow unique and separate because you look at some alternative news. Not even that you understand the political posturing, but you look at some other news outlet. And it's very frustrating. And it's why this conservative black movement, and I'm putting that in quotes, is gaining so much traction.
Yeah.
Case in point, just yesterday in the Sphere, we had this whole stupid situation where a lot of these folks that had these white supremacist talking points got to come on these panels and just comfortably just talk straight eugenics fire with damn near no pushback.
Yep.
Stumbling over themselves and galvanizing the other so-called black folks that support these conservative ideas. And again, they keep using that conservative cloak as a shield or as a camouflage, or like trying to pull a Mystique and blend in and say it's political when it's nothing more than that same dumbass brainwashing we've been listening to for the last 200-300 years.
Well, it's the Otto Kuhn syndrome, right? Like
Otto Kuhn, I'm gonna use that. Otto Watson.
Auto foods transform and roll out.
because the history of that rhetoric, especially under ideas like meritorious manumissions, which was transformed into your modern day, Kuhn show,
aka the butter biscuit.
Yeah, they get paid in Popeye's chicken coupons and whatnot, and they're just like on auto Kuhn mode, where they think this is the way to get paid now, right? And they haven't really been paying attention that with this new rise of like white nationalism and the fear of genetic annihilation, and we're going to have a white minority population. That whole phobia,
fear of a black planet.
What they have done, right, is create this space where they think, for the Coons, they think that they're going to get paid if they put white people's minds at ease, right? And the way to put white people's minds at ease is to always have somebody black come out and pound cake black folk. And they don't even realize what it does is it alienates them from their own population. And then what happens is whenever they get Bill Cosby'd, nobody's there to speak on their behalf in any positive nature.
I think it's funny. What's funny about that? I would tell people like Soldier, I forget what the rest of his name is, and crime and misdemeanor and no reason. Look at the story of Benedict Arnold. Look how history has dictated to us. You betray your own, remember, nobody trusts a traitor.
That's true.
Well, you have to really look at the story of Benedict Arnold. Interesting story about Benedict Arnold. He married a woman that was outside of his class. He married a woman that was outside of his community. His wife Peggy Shippens was actually member of the old British royal aristocracy. Her father was a judge. He was a legate. As a matter of fact, her grandfather is the man who founded the town of Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. Benedict Arnold inherited a starving command. His soldiers were starving. These are people that were already fighting the war against like Indians, Brits, Canadians, Spaniards. The Spaniards and the French on the Canadian border. He's a brilliant naval officer. Problem is that every time he went to George Washington, who was basically the commander in chief pre-end of war, before he became the president, what would happen was George Washington would always promise him that he was going to have everything that he needed when the war ends. And he's like, you know what? I have soldiers and sailors that need to eat right now. Their families are starving. Their families are in dire straits. Some of his soldiers under his command literally defected. Went on to do pirating and all of this other shit, and he was always put under this immense pressure to get his soldiers back under his control. The only thing that was literally alienating him from his soldiers was the fact that, well, he's in command and he hasn't paid his soldiers, and he can't pay his soldiers unless those funds are released by the federal government.
Mhm.
And the federal government doesn't have the money because it's fighting a war on multiple fronts.
Mhm.
And so what happens is he gets really desperate. He goes to Peggy Shippens's father, Judge Shippens, and he asked him for monetary help. And the judge says, well, I have no problem giving you everything that you need for your soldiers.
Right.
I mean, money, food, powder, cannons, all the things to maintain them, horses.
Mhm.
But you're going to have to do something for me.
Mhm.
And the favor that was asked of him was for him to weaken the defenses at West Point so that the British can invade.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what he did.
Mhm.
And after doing so, he defected to Great Britain, and he comes back to burn down Jamestown.
Right.
You see, that's one of the problems with America, that it only tells you the Hollywood history. Benedict Arnold was a traitor. He should have just stayed true, despite the fact that we kept lying to him, and we sent his entire regime into fucking economic desperation to where they resorted to piracy.
What's the old saying, Cerulean? You know, be careful of the kids that you raise outside the village, because they just burn the village down just to fill the room.
You know, it's interesting how you even brought that fact up of how so few people even understand how that led to slavery ending early in the North. The mass amount of Black folks that defected to the British, and how those colonial troops literally have been beating the brakes off of the United States military for a while. But unfortunately, I guess a lot of those folks now, I guess their ancestors are in places like, you know, Nova Scotia and Jamaica right now. But you know, folks need to get that whole context of the story. It changes the whole way they even present that.
Hey, what's up, Art?
What's going on, y'all? I thought I'd chime in before I head to the casket.
Well, don't
What's
die.
going on, Art?
Greetings.
What's going on? Hey, y'all. I was, you know, y'all had me go in my library and pull out Dirty Little Secrets by Dr. Claude Anderson.
Oh yeah.
And there's a very interesting part in page 92 and 90, let me see, 94 and 95. One is called the conservative Black conserve what in question mark, and the other one is the wealth and courage Black conservatism. And he was talking about a guy named Robert Carlos DeLarge, and this is in 1868, where this guy was literally trying to find ways to discourage Black empowerment and try to uplift the you know, the emergence or actually the return of white empowerment over Black people.
Mhm.
You literally, this is 1868. My question is, where are these motherfuckers coming from? Because right now we have the same
I'm not mistaken,
conversation.
the large came from South Carolina. Yeah.
I'm like, what
In fact,
factories?
if I'm not mistaken, he sat on House of Representatives.
Yeah, what you know, what factories, what eggs are they coming out of? I'm just thinking that, I mean, in order for you to be from that type of lineage, do you have to have some kind of talent or something, or some? I mean, are you touched by some kind of coon god or something? 'Cause-
Oh, no. See, the DeLarge family. We know about the DeLarge family. You know, when you talk about beneficiaries of meritorious missions, he was one of them. But
Yeah.
you didn't think
So is this a Proctor family scenario?
Yeah, because he was backing up Andrew Johnson and everything. He was really, you know, I mean, he was against the whole 40 acres and the mule. He was against all that shit. So I'm like, damn, man. I mean, you would have thought that after the whole,
mind you, this is during the time he was against that. During the time where you had the Homestead Act, where any white person could go and claim, it doesn't matter if they were from Europe, East Europe, America, or Spain or Germany, they could claim 160 acres of land for free.
Begging white folks come over here.
But yet, how many times in 2 whole days, fellas? Right? This is the second day, correct, fellas?
Yeah. So
2
is.
days. 2 days, we get this fucking bootstrap argument. Pull yourself by your bootstrap. The black people. Number one, let's look at it from a strategic standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Not only people who have no lineage to American soil can come over here with a fucking major advantage, but they don't even leave you alone as black people.
Right.
They have to fuck with you. It's like America's like the little brother you didn't fucking care for. You can be sitting down reading a book, chilling, playing a game, and this motherfucker take a fucking needle, poke your ass right in the leg.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask him why you do it. He's smiling and running off.
Right.
Huh?
No, I said that's one of the issues I've been having a lot, and I do have these conversations with white folks, and some of them are, of course they're disingenuous, but some of them try to give you the real. A lot of them tell you that it's fear. It's fear, and because you got to remember, most people put their mindset in other people's mind, or try to put it in other people's mindset, and try to say, like, if I was them, I would do this. So
in other words, we're going to do to them what they did to us.
Yeah, that's their biggest fear, man. And hell, even in our most powerless position, they still feel that way.
Yeah, you got to think about it, Art. I had a conversation with a group of white folks, and they were like, so we're so glad you're here. I said, I have to ask you this question. If I was out of uniform and my normal, regular civilian attire, would you say the same thing to me? And everybody gets hush quiet.
Right.
And I asked this other question because, I'm one of them rabbit hole digging motherfuckers. I'm a fox.
Oh.
Well, it's funny because
would you
Art just brought up Robert DeLarge. But if you really want to get deep into that conversation with the slavery thing, like, go back to Brown Fellowship Society. Brown Fellowship Society. If you remember back in the day when we would talk about how the mulatto class tried to push into white society and got kicked down.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the era when the mulattoes were getting their nigga wake up calls.
Oh
yeah, because he was telling people black folks should not, if they're becoming the majority of the population of South Carolina, they shouldn't appear to be too harsh or vindictive towards their white masters.
Well,
because
he was from the mulatto class. He was from the mulatto class.
Yeah.
And
okay.
At the end of the Civil War, mulattoes played a very different role. So at the end of
that's how they got that whole situation in Texas kicked off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was and I only got like maybe 3 paragraphs worth.
So before the Civil War, mulattoes were actually set aside as an elite buffer zone between the slaves and white society.
Mm-hmm.
And they created this thing called the Brown Fellowship Society.
Yeah, shout out to Alpha Phi Alpha. I'm joking, but go ahead.
Oh, this is even before Alpha Phi Alpha.
Yeah, they were 1906, but they got it from
then
there.
after the end of the Civil War, when it came time, because initially Sherman's Field Order 15 was supposed to stand.
There you go.
Initially, and then what happened was, as you know, Abraham Lincoln is assassinated, and Andrew Johnson, who's Southern State Democrat, literally reverses all of the orders that have been executively put into place, like Sherman's Field Order 15. DeLarge is actually one of the biggest proponents against Sherman's Field Order 15.
That's crazy, man.
And see, this was around the time the Proctor, and then this is just speaking to the thinking of a lot of people back then. You get that whole concept of the Proctor family where they went out of their way to try to genetically isolate themselves to be more white, for those same purposes. So this is just kind of speaking to that whole mulatto class. You know, he described it as a class, and people keep not understanding that this was literally the way people were classified.
Yeah. And they get assaulted. Like, no, we didn't do that.
His reward was he would be promised a chance to run for the Republican Congress by helping in that Field Order 15. Yeah,
council. Yeah, he's right. Come
Think about it. We had the shucking drivers for the longest time in Black American history.
That's true.
I mean, these motherfuckers could tap dance better than Fred Astaire.
You forgot to mention that he factored in the whole thing of Jim Crow. So he was part of that. They said according to his political naivete in South Carolina. So, you know, but I'm quite sure there's way more because I just got the book called Dirty Little Secret. I mean, he go over like a guy named William Johnson too, of the early 1800s. It's a trip to how every time somebody wants. My issue is most of the time, like especially like this conversation that we're having now. These are one of these building conversations to where we can take our ideals and find ways out of a problem, but you know, every now and then you'll have someone of true nature will come in and try to say, "Hey guys, not all white people are not like that," or you know, why you guys are talking like that? They're disrupting the whole thing, and I'm like, this is 2020,
exactly,
and people still doing that, and we're talking about history that I can only go back like right now, in the 1800s.
But
in 1873, if I'm not mistaken, Delars died in 1874, 1875. One of the last addresses he actually made to Congress when he got his nigga wake up call.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's all true story. You can look this shit up. But
yeah,
he made this statement where he talked about like the Republicans, neither the Republicans nor the Democrats, they can say that they had no hand in bringing about the conditions of the affairs, meaning the slavery to the loss of the Civil War, right? Because now after the Civil War, they're just like they're doing now. They're ousting all the coons. They're saying, "Oh, we don't need you anymore." He gets his nigga call. Bam! Now he wants to advocate for black folk. Same thing happened with E. Franklin Frazier. E. Franklin Frazier gets his nigga wake up call at the University of Chicago.
Oh.
Well, even W.E.B. Du Bois ran into the same thing.
And shout out to Simply Unique for the donation. Woo! Thank you, love.
And I'm saying that in context of how he was beefing with Marcus Garvey. And then meanwhile, you got J. Edgar Hoover over here doing his whole thing. Like
That's because J. Edgar Hoover's half black.
I didn't know that.
You know,
and half trans too, but I'm joking.
Actually, it was a quadroon. He wasn't half black. He was actually a quadroon.
Oh, because he was a fourth, huh? So you could only have that much hatred to black people because nobody hates differently than your own.
Everybody wants to be on the winning team. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Like how the Irish were heading up all these white supremacist movements.
The problem with J. Edgar Hoover was the same problem that W.E.B. Du Bois had, is that when you come from that quadroon society, that mulatto class, and they're trying to reestablish a hierarchy within black society with mulattoes on top, since they can't be a part of white society.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
And so the type of hate is completely different. I mean, that hate just hit different. You know what I mean?
So won't you say that's the same thing going on with these black conservatives now?
That's exactly what's going on with black conservatives.
Put it to you this way: this is the reason why, and I'm gonna hit what Art was saying earlier. There's a reason why I let Homeboy come up here again, just to show, because he's speaking from an air of arrogance. An air of fucking hubris. Just to let them know, any fucking time, I could debunk your shit just with one phrase. I can let you guys do it with one phrase, or we could just go down the goddamn rabbit hole and let this and give them a backpack instead of a parachute. And what happened? Fastest man alive, right out there.
because he didn't stand on his fucking shit. See,
I would actually, Charles, I would actually only ask one question: what exactly has the Republican Party or the conservative constituency done for Black conservatives that are already a part of the party?
Exactly. When you start, and this is the reason why, nephew, Gino, others, this is the reason why I tell you, I don't mind dropping these motherfuckers down the rabbit hole, but I always have that big joker. When you get tired of playing with this motherfucker and he start irritating you, make him feel stupid. My coaches used to say, that motherfucker's fucking with you when we in practice. Make him become his master.
That's true.
You become his master. You make him submit to every god. Why you think as soon as I asked him that question, pew,
he has something to do. He had to go to work. His goldfish died. You know how the shit is.
You know,
man,
as soon as I asked him that question, if you put the resources in the Black community, what the fuck happens to the Black community? It rises up. When you take them out, it goes down.
It goes down like any other community.
And it don't take years for it to happen either.
Yeah. And trust me, it's bullshit. That's why I love when they come up here.
That's why Black Wall Street got bombed down. That's why Black Wall Street.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. The reason why I even put the title, because I knew that arrogant son of a bitch would come back sniffing.
Yeah, because he was doing the typical female shaming language. Oh, you talking about me? I must be in your mind. Like, dude, shut your. I keep telling folks, man, being a Black conservative and like being a fruitcake is hand in hand.
Let me ask you guys this though. I mean, because he's not the only one. There's others, and y'all hear these guys in different spaces. My issue is, okay, you're always coming in Blacks. I mean, like 98%, 99% Black spaces. Do you talk like this in white spaces, and how do they receive you? They pat you on the head and say the good boy, or I mean,
better yet, right? Like, you probably know what panel I'm talking about, but I actually listened to part of a panel where what I seen was some British half-caste tramp literally seeking the validation of the only white male, while the derelict Negro males that were on the panel were trying to seek the validation of the half-caste. As a matter of fact, that white boy could have pulled his fucking dick out, and those derelict Negro males would have all fucking bit at the fucking chance to take a nibble on it.
And I'm gonna tell you what. And I'm gonna tell you what. And this is also Faulkner saying this shit. I don't give a fuck if I get cut off from this shit or what. You let one of them motherfuckers bitch you, I'm gonna lose all fucking respect for you.
Yeah.
Oh well, if you go back and listen to that panel, you'll lose respect for a lot of niggas. Like,
because I would have walked up
that was in the chat that was like,
"Fuck are you?" Straight up. Hey, motherfucker, not too many fuck. I swear to God, I go through this shit on a daily basis with some snooty wannabe college motherfuckers, and I'll tell them all the truth. After we get done debating, go take your fucking PhD, go take your master's, go take your bachelor's, your associates, wipe your ass with it, and get a fucking refund, you idiot. Because you allow too many people to come up in your space, take a shit in your toilet, don't wipe their hands, touch your walls, and leave.
Hey, they don't even shit in the toilet, Charles. They shit on your floor.
Not only that, but they they use your fucking shirt as a dry towel. After they pissed on the hands, of course. But,
I do that too sometimes, Master Boss.
But the funny thing about it is how many panels held by whites that you see, like literally just shitting on other whites, and then they just let one of these niggas like literally just be up in their presence while they're shitting on other white folks, and not let them be up in their presence, but come up onto the panel and say, "Yeah, that's right about these white motherfuckers."
Exactly, because guess what? The same shit that I've done to that guy for 2 straight days, if it would have been a white guy, I am no respecter of persons. Come with it, come get it, come get the fuck out.
And see, that's why we need to see that same heat for everybody that walks into the space that's out of line and off code, irrespective. And that's what brought that whole discussion earlier today when we were breaking all of that stuff down about the nonsense that happened, where, the your palm colored individuals came in being bold. Because if one person's doing it, then more people are going to do it. And
I
with
welcome
Sphere
it.
getting attention the way it is now, there's going to be more of them showing up. And all that was happening is motherfuckers roll over and showed their belly. It was a show of weakness. And folks was out here arguing about, well, somebody's doing something. Like that dude left because he was bored.
See, that's why we got to get into the habit of like when I hear these derelict Negro males say the shit that they say. No, you're gonna have to. I don't give a fuck if they're talking about a man or a woman. No, you're going to have to give me specifics about the specific individual that fucked you over, about the specific woman that put you on child support, about the specific woman that took half your shit because you were being a derelict Negro male. Right? You're gonna have to tell me the specifics. I don't want to hear this generalized bullshit. Tell me the specifics. I think genuinely that a lot of these people are simply negative people in real life.
Exactly.
That's just who they are.
And I'm gonna say this: I don't care how fucked up the women are. A lot of them are. I'll admit that. I've said it many times. So Rulia knows it. Chaos knows it. Art knows it. That still does not excuse you from being a fucking man.
Yeah.
Guess what? If I gotta go out there and face the world, I don't give a fuck if I'm married, dating, or single. I still gotta be a man. You don't let nobody fucking come to your house and bitch you. You didn't even go to their fucking family. You don't even have
the problem is that this specific person was erected and venerated, built, promoted by these derelict Negro males.
And they show you how they really feel about you.
Well, again, we go back to that whole, it's the same thing you finished talking about, that subclass. They want to be part of that mulatto class. And that whole entire mental portfolio never went anywhere, even though time changed. And it's even worse now because folks use this anecdotal logic, I guess, either from popular media or just from being in proximity to a lot of these folks that hold these same ideas. And so here you are, you got these kids growing up, these white folks right next door, and they're looking, they haven't had their as we said earlier, nigga moment, in that everybody has to have a time period where they recognize, okay, I'm black.
Yeah.
And I know everybody sitting on this panel can think of multiple times, maybe the first time, where that realization really hit home. And for some people, they literally run with this plausible deniability bullshit, really thinking they're separate, and they do nothing but cause damage to our entire image as a whole, failing to realize that nothing but useful idiots to individuals that really know what's going on.
Oh, what it is that it's still being led by the women, right? They still put the power in the women's hand, right? Because if the woman can say, come on to YouTube, say, oh, you niggas ain't shit, you niggas ain't shit, you niggas ain't shit. And then the moment the derelict Negro male said, well, you're not talking about all of us, you're talking about them niggas over there, right? You know, they're getting that old slave butter biscuit shit. Like no, even if the female is saying the same shit from the fucking 70s feminist fucking rhetoric, right?
They've been saying it since they got off the plantation and went further up north. That whole idea of I don't want a black man doing to me what the white man.
You know what the correct answer is to when a bitch say niggas ain't shit? You say two things. One, if I ain't shit, don't fuck with me. Or number two, get your ass in the kitchen and make a sandwich.
They go on entire campaigns, right? And they're going on these entire campaigns to create this separation, really to appeal to women. Like, I'm not like those guys over there. And then that's when the whole dating and female mate choice and selection process comes in. Right. They're still trying to prove to a woman they claim that they don't want that they're the best fucking man.
Exactly, because if you're the best man, here's the game. If you're the best man that you're being anyway, you're not going to have hard time getting women. If anything, what's going to happen is you're going to realize there ain't too much difference, and you're going to slow yourself down and continue your purpose in life.
Well, let me ask you this, Charles. How many wrestling matches have you actually won and complained about the loser?
The loser complains about me. I don't think about the losers. I think about winning.
So what does that tell you about a group of men, right? That okay, if black women ain't shit and these women ain't shit, yada 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 yada, and they're just losers, they're just mad. Like, what are you doing complaining about them? If you're the winner, if you are,
it's called like this one senior NCO said, sour grapes. That's what it is. It's sour grapes. See, when you're on your purpose and you the man, that blocks you from about 50 to 60% of the chicks who mean you no good.
Well, the thing that I checked out when I hear those kind of things, usually those guys haven't seen much example of winning people. And, if I was able to, say anything about how they say things or the way they're approaching things, I try to either present people that have done the thing, or I try to use myself as an example. If I was able to touch on some of the stuff that they're complaining about, because you got to remember a lot of these people that are sitting there complaining are really struggling that whole thing about finding their manhood and who they are. Because you got to be mindful that as a black man, your manhood is challenged everywhere you go. Your woman, your job, the streets, cops, everywhere. I don't think Asians and Arabs and all them people have this issue, but we do. Even Asian women, Latino women in the workplace that are in higher positions always got to, if you say the sky is red, they'll try to say, no, dear, it's burgundy. You say the ground is flat, they say, no, dear, it's rough. It's always some kind of need to try to diminish a black man either being a man or becoming a man or knowing his shit.
And
So
that's
be mindful of that.
If this was said, go ahead.
That's the whole reason why the Man Not came out with Tommy Curry, really breaking a lot of that information down. Because again, we go back to the plantation origin, where black men weren't seen as men; they're seen as males.
Or boys.
I'm gonna bring it down to you even further. Why do you think I made the Black Superman series, which I'm gonna go back into? Notice what I said. The Black Superman can never show weakness. The Black Superman, see, the comfort of being Superman is not his powers. Okay? The comfort of being Superman is that he can fall back to being Clark Kent. When can black men fall into being Clark Kent and just be an ordinary man? You either ain't shit or you gotta be extraordinary. There's no
Charles, they don't even want it to be Clark Kent. They want it to be Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah. Sometimes you just want to be the regular motherfucker. You either
like, damn, I can't even be Clark Kent.
I want you to really think about that. You're either not shit to their eyes or you got to be extraordinary. There's no in between. It's a vicious dichotomy.
So
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll say it real quick. See, black men were looked at men, or being charged as men is a better way to put it, very early in life. We're never given the point of adolescence or learning, where the white boy could dress like a black dude, quote unquote thug.
It's a phase.
Listen to all, go through a phase, go through all the little cornrows, little so-called wigger phase. But as soon as he goes in a court of law with his buddies, he's got a three-piece suit on with a little buzz cut, speaking the Queen's English and everything, and he's supposed to be, but guess what? You can never be that. You were supposed to wear a three-piece suit at 4 years old. At 20 years old, you're supposed to have $250,000 in the bank. There is no build-up time for you. But go ahead.
Yeah, what I was alluding to, because I was building on what Cerulean was saying. I think a lot of the guys are saying this stuff are lacking tools. I think that's the main thing that they're not willing to admit, that they don't have enough tools to make it through this. Even if you had bad experiences with women or in the society or in the world, in order for you to be a man, You got to have your armor. You got to have your breastplate. You got to have your helmet, your sword. You walking around without that, yeah, you're gonna be crying about that shit, you know. But at the same time, even after you wipe the tears, you should know how to acquire these weapons to go up back out there and fight the good fight.
Well, here's the fundamental problem. See, those tools you're supposed to acquire by the time you became an adult. Those tools are only tools that you can be given to you by your father.
Mm-hmm.
See, we like to kind of, I know we like to kind of generalize it and say, well, you have mommy issues. No, the nigga had his motherfucking mommy all his goddamn life. Okay? The missing element was the only motherfucker that could forge him into an actual man. That was his father. Okay? These guys have daddy issues. They don't have mommy issues, they have daddy issues.
Yep. And you know, it's so funny watching this play out.
Yeah.
Because you'll see them literally fall back on the mother figure essentially being the man. And there's a lot of that gets literally championed not only in the community, but it's encouraged by the popular media.
Yeah.
You listen to the way these Negroes talk. Well, my mama wasn't shit, and my mommy didn't do this, and my mommy didn't do that. Well, shit, mommy have a dick and balls? Because last time I checked, you weren't supposed to do that.
But see, you got to look at, and this is where we get into the cycle. Like, the shit didn't get this way on accident. No. I mean, there's so many spheres that are.
We see the way the conversation always has to go. So we have to leave out the parties that are actually responsible, that actually caused the situation, and we have to focus on the effects of it, right? Because see, women are the effects of what male leadership has wrought.
That's correct. That's correct.
Whoa, okay. What male leadership?
So in this case, it'd be the white man, because the gynocracy is a byproduct of white patriarchy.
Which is what I would say. So if we're talking about that,
you have to understand what is gynocracy. There's two types of gynocracy. There's gynocracy in which women totally rule, and if there is such thing as a black gynocracy, tell me what power in blacks in any society, white, black, or otherwise, American specifically, where black women have total complete dominance, in which they gauge where you can work, they gauge where you can eat, they gauge where you can buy property, they gauge where you can fucking have a sustainable life, or even pass down wealth generationally. Like women don't control any of that thing. The problem we have here is that we're actually living in a patriarchy. Patriarchy is a penis patrolling system to control male reproduction.
Who are the enforcement? Who are the enforcement?
The gynocracy is doing. So, like, look, when we say that, let me explain the nuance here. Yes, the gynocracy does that by virtue of the state and its assistance. And that's the key here. It's not operating independent and on its own.
Well, you're talking about by virtue of the state, then you're implying other men.
Right. Because so I needed to put that nuance in.
Last time I checked, Congress is 90% male. The governors are
white male.
I'm not arguing that point. I'm not arguing that point. I'm just saying I'm not arguing that point. I'm saying I'm just trying to highlight the nuance here, because it can be understood or misinterpreted that what you're saying is that women don't have a play in that as far as the gynocracy is concerned. I'm saying they do, and they're using the patriarchy by virtue of state assistance. And that's what I'm putting out there right there. So the white
patriarchy is simply just a weapon that the gynocracy uses against black men.
But that was the exact same thing that was done on the plantation, and that's all I'm saying as far as the gynocracy, as we're using that term.
The only gynocracy that exists in America is the white gynocracy. Whenever you see these laws passed for women, those are white women that are passing these laws, that are getting these laws passed.
So maybe this is just a semantics issue, because at the end of the day, it's the face of that.
When we're talking about gynocracy, we're talking about upper academia. Still, in upper academia, 80% of the teachers are white. Nearly 70% of them are white female. When you look at the K through 12, 80% of all teachers are white females. So when we're talking about gynocracy, that is what we're talking about. These are where your children are raised. Yeah. Literally, this is where they get their identity.
We always said that black feminism mimics their talking points from white feminism, though. So that's not a surprise.
Oh, wait. this is what also you hear in the manosphere, right? The manosphere mimics every fucking talking point that comes straight out of Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman.
What?
It is a feminist doctrine. It is, a matter of fact, it could be considered the Black feminist Bible.
Wait, you said the Black Manosphere Paris? What?
It's that, like, you gotta be more specific. Like, what are you talking about? Because again, the gynocracy, again, as we're describing it, we're talking about that its existence in the Black community. We're not talking about on the infrastructure level. Hold on, man. Let me finish. I think we're getting caught up in literally semantics as that's understood. Maybe when you say gynocracy,
control your rate of taxes? Does it control your employment prospects? Does it control any of that? It doesn't control
let Nameless finish. Let him finish. Let Nameless finish.
Fellas, one at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a difference between when we're saying gynocracy versus the powers that are controlled by the state that the gynocracy leans on to address.
Right.
So when it's not a one or the other, they both work concurrently at different levels on different things. But the animating spirit behind both of them is still white supremacy as it's understood.
Right.
And you can literally draw a direct parallel and say that is the patriarchy, it is the white patriarchy, period. So I think we're getting caught up in semantics when we try to delineate the different phases of it all. But there are actual doctrines that are tied to that do have direct lines of effect from things like the Black feminist movement. I'm thinking of the Combahee River Accord. You know, the Black chicks that came up with that whole intersectional feminism concept and idea. They have been gatekeepers with regards to the Black family by virtue of literally being in this single motherhood dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to run into counter white supremacist talking points also by completely downplaying that role as it's played out and how it has damaged Black boys coming up and kept Black boys in position to grow up to Black men to be able to do that. Is it just the gynocracy's fault? No, because we know that it's following a underlying agenda that's tied directly to white supremacy. The program is running as intended. It's just that in order to begin to defuse these things, we have to identify where these layers are coming from. So there are a lot of these things that do run concurrent with each other. It's like a Venn diagram. It's not a bar. It's not a graph chart.
Like what I'm saying is like this, right? So let's just say hypothetically, the gynocracy is a weapon and a tool of a white patriarch.
Yeah, I would agree.
Would you say that's accurate? What happens? What happens whenever you break the white patriarch's hand?
The gynocracy will fall.
Oh, well, see, then we're back at the Great Faulkner Initiative.
Okay.
But this is what I was saying before a while ago, not on this panel, but you know, people are too busy focusing on Frankenstein and not Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We're not getting. We don't see his lab. We don't see his chemicals. We don't see the machine he's making. We're only looking at the monster that's out in the village wreaking havoc.
But that monster
we're thinking that's the antidote. And it's like, no, we put Frankenstein aside, but we got to get to Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, but the monster is an active threat, though.
But see, that highlights the point that I was making earlier. So because in a lot of these spaces, we have to ignore the overarching cause of all these situations, and we have to focus on the underlapping effects, right? that you have to deal with, personally in your interpersonal relationships in daily life.
Well, man, with that idea because there are a couple individuals that do.
Hold on. Uncle Chuck, what's up?
You hear me? See, you got to realize this from a strategic standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
The gynocratic rule over the Black community is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like if you look at something.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Black people spend too much time fighting the body of the snake. Yeah. How do you kill a snake?
Kill the head.
So if I'm fighting the body, this is what happens. That motherfucker's gonna coil around you and it's gonna squeeze the fucking life out of you. Before you figure out what's really gonna kill you, you're already in his belly.
And this is the part about the gynocracy that I don't give a shit about. Number one, are these motherfuckers? I hate to call it because number one, we're smart enough to know the difference between a woman, a lady, and a bitch. Are these bitches out here winning? Are these bitches out here winning?
No. No.
When you look at the overall economics of it, these bitches are not out here winning.
You got to look at this.
There you go.
You got to look at this. These bitches are not winning.
No.
Kevin Samuels would not get 400 people, 4,000 people every time he plays this channel live of bitches asking, where do I rank?
Yeah.
What do I need to get a high tier man?
Yeah.
And you know what I love about it? That nobody's kissing their ass anymore. So they're not winning. If they were winning, they wouldn't give a shit about you.
Well, that's the interpersonal side of the game, right? That's dealing with intercultural baggage.
Exactly. And here's the secret about feminism itself. Even those bitches don't adhere to that shit. Because last time I checked, damn near every white feminist is married.
Shit.
Funny, isn't it?
Well, I think I really want to make a statement here, though, is that even though they're not winning, they're still raising the next generation of black boys into dysfunction, and I think that needs to be talked about. That's why I keep saying
about it. I think we got no problems talking about it. See, go ahead.
I think that's the thing that Art Nostal, brother Art Nostal keeps bringing up is, you got to look at Dr. Frankenstein. Well, my point is that Frankenstein's monster is still an active threat within the community.
Yeah,
let's check it out, right? So see, in order for that to happen, right, we have to deal with the fact that black men, for the most part, don't give a fuck about black boys either. As a matter of fact, they are less likely to give a fuck about black boys than even black women. As a matter of fact, I was on a panel with the Black Brain Trust, and though there were many people that agreed with the Gray Faulkner Initiative, there were some detractors that was like, well, what we gonna do about these black women? Well, I'm not talking about the fucking black women. What can you do for a black boy? See, because it starts with you.
But that's already happening for dudes that are in a position to do it. Like, I think everybody sitting up here knows men and their family that have gone out of their way to try to help them.
Yeah.
And they were either stopped by a situation that we talked about earlier going on with the state or institutionalized BS. There are too many programs that are out there that can assist women in doing exactly that. And damn near nothing exists for men. And trying to anecdotally say that
because we have not created, we have literally not created
that argument in inverse right now. Like, you're making, I understand your point.
One at a time.
Like, I understand your point, Cerulean, but at the end of the day, we're so far behind because of this that we're literally struggling with the definition of the word man with regards to the word black.
Shout out to Seven for the donation. Shout out.
The reason why we are so far behind is because black men are apathetic about black boys. Don't give a fuck.
That's not true.
Yeah, but that's the thing that I wanted to address is that, you know, we talked about, okay, the gynocracy or the sisters that don't have their minds on marbles. We consider that Frankenstein. When we go with the black boys, and the black men, we're looking at Dracula. You know, we're looking at a part to where, okay, well, if I got bit neck by the boy Dracula, I can't grow up. I'm going to be a boy in a man's body. So when you start talking man talk to a boy in a man's body, it's that shit is not registering. So it's not much you can say to a man in a boy in a man's body about responsibility and taking charge or whatever. He's damn near far gone. You might have to kidnap him and do some drop squad shit on him to reprogram him. But other than that, that's what we're dealing with.
It is better to build strong children than to repair broken men.
Yeah, that's what
like straight up, like I'm done like preaching to grown ass men about what they can do to contribute to pushing the race forward, developing boys into men, right? I'm done preaching to the choir about that shit.
What about
It
all
ain't
the,
men,
what about
man.
all
They
the
ain't
black
men.
men that have created programs who have actually died for black boys? They keep getting caterwauled by black women, though. I mean, I can't believe. I cannot sit here and say that black men are apathetic to black boys. That's not true. I mean, there's too many examples I can cite where that's not true. So many programs and brothers that created and whatnot. And I got a black boy I'm mentoring right now, and down here.
Yeah, but Gino,
I give you an example. I like to bring,
Hold on, one at a time. One at a
bring
time.
this example of Tavis Smiley, right? You know, because he hosts that whole Black Caucus, Congressional Black Caucus, and all that shit, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Now, he ran into some trouble with TBS, and the reason why he ran into trouble with TBS is because they tried to meet to him with the whole, a couple of females that work in the studio, basically were paid some money to speak negatively about his sexual aspirations, right? And they were speaking very candidly, and they didn't know they were being recorded. That information was later used to try to criminalize Tavis Smiley, right? The problem was Tavis Smiley has dozens, if not hundreds, of men from his own alma mater that he could have placed around him. No, did he do it? No, he only placed women that around him that he wanted to fuck.
But how's that an exclusive thing to black
Because
men?
he did not create a padded barrier around him to protect him, and you do that by enriching the lives of other men.
And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna peep game.
As a matter of fact, when we talk about power dynamics, what do you think the nepotism of white capitalism is? White men enriching the lives of other white men. Why? To create a protective barrier around themselves. We have not done that as black men. Why? Because we have not learned to fall in love with the idea of fraternity.
But you can't have it both ways, though. You can't have it both ways. What I mean by that is that we recognize that a lot of guys are really lacking manhood, period, being men. But at the same time, we're up here shouting at them that they should be men. Like you're giving them a decision of something that they don't even have. And I'm not making. Hold on, I'm not making excuses. Let me finish first.
Hold on. One at a time.
Let me finish. I'm not making excuses for that, but I think we're just talking to the wrong people.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Uncle Chuck. Go ahead.
This is what I'm gonna say. The men on this panel, I don't have to preach mentorship to you because we pretty much do it in almost every aspect of our careers,
right?
Even when we're not even paid on the table. The game is this: when people say about the gynocracy, last time I checked, like Batman said, are criminals still a superstitious and cowardly lot? Are bitches too lazy to still watch their own goddamn kids? Guess what? Start a goddamn Boy Scouts or a team where you can teach these kids. Guess what? That chick wants a break. Oh, she'll break her neck, drop that motherfucker off, and come 50 minutes later, to come pick him up. How do I know this? I had to personally jump in a parent's ass about your son had to stay at my house because my defrosters went out. Here's my number. Here's the address. If you got a 4-wheel drive to go through the snow, at the time I didn't, you are free to come get your child. Well, you dropped them off late before I go to church. When the fuck did you ever donate money to the fucking wrestling team? When did you ever pick them up from the wrestling team? Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And the stuff that
don't subscribe to the idea that.
Let me finish. See, you got to realize this. To counteract the gynocracy, to counteract all this shit, which we put in the Great Faulkner Initiative, you start these programs because a lot of these mothers, guess what? They're going to come to you anyway. Here's the secret. They're going to come to you because they can't control them after 12, 13. The motherfuckers too big and too strong. They're going to come to you. See, I like to quote the Bible sometimes, not because of religious reasons, because you can find wisdom in anything. Psalms 110, verse 1. And the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until your enemies become your footstools.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers have been my footstool, my table, my goddamn sectional. Because it always comes, not only will you get the programs, once you make the programs, the fucking gynocracy will pay you.
There's a point that I want to bring up, but I just maybe it's late at night. I'm having a brain fart right now. So
I'm not with the whole, telling young men to be men when I know they don't have the damn tools. What I'm saying is that if it's not our responsibility as this generation of men, whose responsibility is it?
I don't think anyone's arguing that.
We have to be the ones to give them the damn tools that they need.
Yeah, go ahead, Nate.
I don't think anyone was arguing that. What I'm saying is I don't like the idea that it's conflated somehow, that black men are the point of origin of the problem. It's a shared problem that has totally different solutions across each sphere, the way you want to address it. The issues that would solve women's issues are not the same issues that are going to solve men's issues. And the issues that are going on with men are not going to solve the women's issues. We've not been able to have the conversation in its proper context without first defining terms, which is why this word gynocracy was so critical as a first step to separating ourselves enough to begin to identify where these breakdowns are coming from. And it's
did you ever consider that the problem comes in the separation?
No, because if you don't acknowledge the fact that, again, these boys are not being allowed the opportunity to be men, and people can survive off the idea of rugged individualism, this is what's going to perpetuate that. And these issues we see going on now, they're like a sympathetic cause and effect, where the effects we identify are become, or what we identify as a cause, are really the effect of other things. And the deeper the rabbit hole goes, we keep seeing this chicken or the egg point of origin with a lot of these issues. You look at the Moynihan report, and it highlights so many of these points. At the end of the day, initiation into manhood is being done too early with no instruction. We have too many things.
You mentioned the Moynihan report. I've read the Moynihan report dozens of times. In the Moynihan report, did you ever remember reading anything in the Moynihan report about unenforced anti-discrimination laws that, because they were unenforced, left black men at a societal disadvantage? Did you remember reading that in the Moynihan report?
That was the whole premise that led to the fact that there was that whole resentment where literally black boys were not being favored over the black girls to create a situation where they didn't run into that.
Not the Moynihan report, because the Moynihan report is actually incomplete.
They just finished updating it and revisiting it again in 2016. But that was
Moynihan actually, the role that he actually played was the same role that John Ehrlichman played before Moynihan was replaced by Ehrlichman. Make no mistake, Moynihan wasn't necessarily your ally, because what he left out of his critical analysis of Moynihan's scissors was that the fact that, despite the fact that all of these policy changes happen, why isn't the black community getting any better? Well, it's called unenforced anti-discrimination laws, and then you had the proliferation of things like affirmative action, which left affirmative action in the hands of white women. So we get back to this thing, and what my position is that niggas somewhere post Civil Rights Act 1964 wanted to take a nap because they thought they had arrived. You got this one policy, Civil Rights Act 1964. Okay, well, work is done. And then what happened was anti-miscegenation laws came down. You thought, now this is freedom. And then next thing you know, you took a nap all those fucking years, and then now what foster, due to neglect, foster, and now we're sitting here 2020 arguing about some shit that happened that was caused by the post-civil rights era generation.
That's my point about the whole environment that was allowed to proliferate in. Immediately after that report was done, Nixon literally took that with that whole corner commission nonsense, and that's how you get the whole benign neglect policy. Followed by what we talked about with regards to the affirmative action dynamic, and Claude Anderson brings this up all the time. Number one, it was only meant to be for black folks, and number two, what ended up occurring was this whole argument about how was that money going to be delivered or delineated, and ended up going to black women or women in general, with the stipulation of you could only have one source of income in the house, and it wasn't going to be the black man there, period. And so here you are with these
fellas, coming up on that time, the 4-hour mark. I mean, just a hell of a show.
We're gonna do part two. We're gonna do
Yeah,
part two tomorrow, and I invite everybody who's on the panel today because I know the track meet ain't coming back. So,
Oh, yeah, he's done.
Track meet.
so I know the track meet ain't coming back. So,
Oh, yeah, he's done.
brother Cerulean, brother Chaos, brother Art, brother Nameless, brother Aqua, brother Gino. This has been a fucking classic, and it's not because of me. It's because of you and all the people in the chat. We're gonna do this again. Slowly but surely, I'm becoming the king of the late nights. That's what my homeboy called me. But I invite you all back. We will start up around 12:45-ish, and we will do this again tomorrow. Woo! Thank you for all your support and all your commentary. We're coming back tomorrow for part two. Be there, and we need more people to see them. We're coming back tomorrow, even better. Woo!
Ooh, salute to the nation.
All right, Black Power, motherfucker.
Black
There you go.
Power, motherfuckers.
Shit, black male power. Shit.
That's the
Oh
only
my
black
God.
power there is.
Amen. You're right.
All right.